Hey everyone, welcome to the Normal American Show. Hope you're having a great day. So let's get those super chats in real quick. We'll begin with today's story. You're right, whoever you are that's worried about this is the only issue that ever matters, and my entire show should be in perpetuity, me talking about Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. So if what you could do is replay this 1 minute over and over again, you can see me say Trump's really bad for how he's handling the Epstein thing, and we should criticize him with every waking breath that we ever have. Don't worry about feeding your family. Don't worry about supporting them. Don't worry about taking care of yourself whatsoever. All that matters is Trump Epstein. So will you join me in saying Trump Epstein, Trump Epstein, Trump Epstein, Trump Epstein, Trump Epstein, Trump Epstein, Trump Epstein. There you go. That's 55 seconds. The minute will be complete here soon. Please put that in replay for the rest of the show. Thank you. We'll just replay that, but I'll say hi real first. What's up, everyone? Normal American Show host robnoerr. I wasn't planning on streaming today, but I don't know. A whim hit me. I was back doing some work, and I was like, why not? Do a little streaming. So I don't know how long we'll go here this evening. But man, it's good to spend some time with you. Figure, let's talk about Trump Epstein today, right? Trump Epstein, let's piss off everyone. Piss off the world, baby. All my audience will be pissed, and, whatever. Should be fun. Of course, there's still a lot going on. We gonna attack Iran? Yeah, what do you think of my hat? My word war hat? I worked for him, damn it. I'm allowed to wear that. No. Brian delayed? Is that true? Let me check that. Here's someone in the know. Oh, behind the scenes stuff that I didn't know people knew about. Let's check my Discord messages. Maybe I got one. Let me check. All right, I'll get on that. Now, what are the details on that? How do you know this? Oh, no. It's tomorrow. I think he's debating Brian Shapiro. Yeah, I think that's supposed to be tomorrow night. So, we're going to talk about Trump Epstein. Trump Epstein. Trump Epstein. What's that? Trump Epstein, you say? Did someone say Trump Epstein? You're right, whoever you are that's worried about this is the only issue that ever matters, and my entire show should be in perpetuity, me talking about Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. So if what you could do is replay this 1 minute over and over again, you can see me say Trump's really bad for how he's handling the Epstein thing, and we should criticize him with every waking breath that we ever have. Don't worry about feeding your family. Don't worry about supporting them. Don't worry about taking care of yourself whatsoever. All that matters is Trump Epstein. So will you join me in saying Trump Epstein, Trump Epstein, Trump Epstein, Trump Epstein, Trump Epstein, Trump Epstein, Trump Epstein. There you go. That's 55 seconds. The minute will be complete here soon. Please put that in replay for the rest of the show. Thank you. Ah, yes. Oh, that's good stuff, huh? Oh, no, we're going to talk about it for real. We really will. Promise. I promise. It's good to see you all. I hope to do you proud. We're going to go through the Trump Epstein Files. Not really. Look, I want to be honest. A lot of the shit I say here is going to piss off my audience, if I'm honest. So brace yourself. Send your money now before I give my commentary and you say, I hate this fucker and never want to talk to him again. So get your money in now. Ah, my. I'm wearing the same shirt I wore yesterday because I was wearing a different shirt, but had to shovel more snow. And my wife's not here to yell at me about wearing the same shirt. So I took off that other shirt and threw this one on and came upstairs. I'll be honest, I'm at my house myself. I was sitting around shirtless. It felt kind of nice. You know, once you have a family and stuff, you don't wear clothes about. Felt nice to just be gym shorts, man. I liked it. A throwback to an earlier time. But I put on a dirty shirt for you guys. Okay, I got some water on it, wherever it is. How about that? We got about 2 feet of snow there about 4 or 5 days ago, and it's not gone down. The problem is the way the plow came through. I had to plow out my dumpster and my mail, or shovel out my dumpster and mailbox. So that's what I was doing. So I don't know how long the show will be tonight. I really don't. It's just on a whim. It's sort of an extra show. So that's about it. Super chats to start with. Robert Whaley, $5 says best intro music ever. That song is called As You Were by the band Track Tribe. And that's free use music from YouTube, but you should check them out. I think it's really cool. Anytime a band's willing to put themselves out there for free for content creators like myself, I don't know that they would want to be associated with me. For all I know, they're lefties that hate right-wing politics, but the band is Track Tribe. So they get some other pretty cool sounding instrumentals too. So there you go. Check them out. And then GG, $2 says bracing for impact. Oh, you got it. So let me ask the first question. And be honest. Listen, I'm not going to yell at anyone over this. How many people think that the Epstein Files are a huge deal? Or rather, let me put it this way. At one point said that they really wanted to see the release of the Epstein Files. They thought it was a big deal. Did you think it was a big deal? Did you not? What do you think? Well, Chiefs Nation did. Decope did not. Joseph Romano, yes. Capone, no. 1 point, yes. Unforcigo says, thought it was a big deal when there was a client list. Yeah, I did. I'll be honest. I wanted to see evidence of what seems to be the case. And I think there's a reason why. Everybody on the right has reason to be skeptical of our government, but I think a lot of people on the left do as well. There's a lot that we can't agree on in politics today. But one thing that most people can is that there's something out there. There's someone out there that's the big evil villain. They're real shitty. And they're running shit. And they don't like us. And they're covering shit up. I believe that. Most of you believe that? Probably. It doesn't have to be Moloch worshippers or interdimensional space vampires or, people kidnapping Charlie Kirk and Candace Owens for X-Men school. And it doesn't have to be that nefarious. But that there are a class of people and leaders in the world that have their own interest at heart. And they don't really give a shit about us. I believe that. I call them like globalist or establishment. Some people believe that these people are up to all kinds of crazy stuff. And I believe that to a level. I do. Like if I just made this general commentary, would anyone have reason to disagree with this? If I said the following, I may not have specific proof, but I think some of the elites in the world engage in all sorts of disgusting criminal sexual behavior that they cover up. Would anyone have reason to think that's an outlandish belief? I might not be able to point to this specific guy. I can't point and say, George Soros. Yes. Jeb Bush, I might not be able to point to an individual, but I think most people have a general belief that powerful elite people are doing crazy sexual stuff, and a lot of it rises to the level of crimes. And I still believe that today. I do. But I think more common would be stuff that's not crimes, or rather it is, but it's not A super huge deal, like paying for sex. It's immoral. It's gross. But nonetheless, we'll get back to that. So there's this general idea that we all have, and this is fitting the tropes of what so many people want to believe. Powerful elite people, they're gathering at this island with this scumbag guy, and they're engaging in the worst behavior imaginable, committing the most heinous crimes. Children, intel agencies are involved in it. Our leaders, Republican, Democrat, business leaders, princes, people in academia, they're all involved in this ring of filming themselves sexually assaulting children, or rather they're being filmed. And I'll admit, when I first heard the Epstein thing, sounds plausible, still sounds plausible to me. It's like, yeah. That sounds likely. And Epstein seemed like that type of guy. He had connections to Mossad, through his family members, connections to prominent Republicans, Democrats, was seen with businessmen, was seen with Donald Trump, seen with Bill Clinton, seen with Prince Andrew. And so just seeing that, it paints a picture in your head that you're like, yes, this must be true. And there's other circumstantial evidence to point that something's going on. For example, I think everyone would agree the deal he got in his 2018 trial was sort of a sweetheart deal. Acosta, the guy that the FBI agent said that he was working with intelligence. Epstein was. So you understand why people came to this conclusion. And then I think the idea that Epstein killed himself, to me, still sounds like absolute bullshit. He may have, but I still think it sounds like bullshit to me. And so the idea that it seems, and on some level, there was a cover-up, is pretty fucking bad. So it's in this context that I first hear about the Epstein Files. Now, I had heard this basically before they arrested Epstein. I remember reading from basically Mike Cernovich, and I believe it was the Miami Sun-Herald, that filed a lawsuit, like basically a Freedom of Information Act lawsuit, and were putting pressure to unseal the documents from Jeffrey Epstein's 2008 or 2009 trial. And I was like, yeah, this sounds fishy. And it confirmed to a bunch of things that I wanted to believe, like elites engaging in shitty behavior. Sounds fishy. And then they arrested Epstein. And I still believe that in that initial arrest of Epstein, it looked to me like the FBI did so begrudgingly. That's what it looked like. Then, of course, Epstein kills himself. It's ridiculous. Let's go with the official story and say he did kill himself. The idea that this is arguably the most important prisoner in the past 50 years, and it was so slapdashed, the security there, that he was able to kill himself, if that's what happened, or even worse, someone took him out. So I was very much invested in wanting to know what was going on and getting details as a member of society. After all, the implications here are as stark as it could get. Powerful leaders in our world engaging in the most heinous crimes for pleasure and for blackmail. And I talked about it a lot. The importance of this story is there's so much corruption in various stories that we could talk about in our government that's hard for an average person to wrap their head around. For example, if I started talking to you about Burisma and about the Bidens and Hunter Biden working for this company, go ahead and try to talk to a normie about that story. All right, let's start here, right? There's this guy Zolchevsky. He's a Ukrainian oligarch, but he's sympathetic to the Russian cause. So what he's doing is getting all these gas leases. I assure you, your normie friend's like, huh? Well, what? As soon as you get that far, What the fuck are you talking about? Too many foreign names, too many ins and out. But this is easy to understand. Hey, did you hear a bunch of elites went to parties and assaulted children? Now they're covering it up. That's a story everyone can understand. By the way, that's why the Diddy story got so big. People understand that. So one of the reasons that it was so important, I think, for so many people, including myself, for the details of this to be released to the public, relevant details, was it hits the most elite people committing the worst crimes imaginable in a way that people could understand. If it was true, for example, let's assume today that the release of these files definitively showed that Trump and Biden and Kamala and Bill Gates and George Soros and Macron and pretty much all world leaders, Xi and Putin, that had video of them committing the most heinous sex crimes. Wouldn't that be earth-shattering? Wouldn't it be something that the entire world would wake up and go, oh my goodness, all of our leaders? Really? It'd be a paradigm shift unlike anything we've ever seen. So clearly, if that's what's going on, or any part of that, right, it was, just Clinton or just Trump or just, you see what I mean? You see the importance. So I'm not going to bullshit and say that I didn't say that it was important to release Epstein Files. But then the next question you have to ask yourself, and I have to ask myself, what did I mean by Epstein Files? Like, what did we mean? When I asked you all, roughly half of you said you, at one point at least, thought it was important to release the Epstein Files. What did you mean? What did I mean? Have you ever really thought what you meant when you're like, yeah, I want to see the Epstein Files? Like, seriously, sit down and think about what you were suggesting. Now, Unforced Ego said, a list of clients. Yeah, if Bill Gates had a list of, like, here are all the people that I filmed that came to me to have intercourse with underagers. Of course. The videos, the hard drives, sure. Maybe emails from Jeffrey Epstein to people, right? Yeah, why not? But what else? What else is in the Epstein Files? What are we asking to be released? People say things like everything. Really? Everything. So, for example, if someone calls into my show and says, I heard from one of the women who said that they were assaulted on Epstein's Island. I heard that Nancy Pelosi did it. And then someone at the FBI gets my video and makes a transcript that says, caller called into robnoerr show. Does that get released? Is that part of the Epstein Files now? I guess I never really thought what I meant when I said Epstein Files. Did I mean any time that law enforcement in any agency got any accusation, no matter how unverified, about anyone committing any crime with Jeffrey Epstein, that should be released unredacted? I don't know. I don't think I meant that. Did I mean like newspaper clippings at, like, let's say in 1987, some business had a Christmas party and Jeffrey Epstein happened to be there for an hour? Is that newspaper clipping part of the Epstein Files? I don't know. I guess I wasn't thinking like that. To me, it's like, no, I don't think. I think when I wanted the files released, what I wanted was, like, law enforcement description of what was on the videos that they found. And sure, maybe like flight logs and the emails of Jeffrey Epstein to people. Incredible evidence that the FBI found suggesting there could have been some sort of misdoings. I guess that's what I meant. But it turns out that's not really what we're getting. Or at least there's some of that. But most of what we're getting seems to be things that I'm like, oh yeah. I don't know. But I'm not going to bullshit you. I thought the Epstein story was important. I still don't think he killed himself. I think that there's some level of cover-up. I'm interested in the topic as someone who thinks there's corruption at the highest levels. And I called for the release of the files. Furthermore, it is inexcusable how Trump's team has handled some of the release of these files. Pam Bondi coming out and saying, we're going to have this shocking release, then giving it to conservative influencers. Then finding out, wait a minute, they haven't released anything new. This is all shit we've seen before. Then her saying, oh, that's because I was misled. Now the files are on my desk. And then having been told, like, actually, no, it's all bullshit. Then Trump coming out and telling his supporters, many of which you have to understand, and this is why it was one of the reasons it was so egregious what Trump did. To many people, this is the quintessential drain the swamp story. Quintessential. Nothing's more swampy than the allegations here. Powerful elite committing the most heinous crimes possible and protecting each other. That's it. And so Trump saying it's all Democrat hoax, and going further and saying, I don't want your support anymore if you continue to fall for it. Horrible. One of the worst political blunders I've ever seen. In fact, I talked about it many, many times. Despite that, people insisted every day that we talk about it, and so we got this hot clip. You're right, whoever you are that's worried about this is the only issue that ever matters, and my entire show should be in perpetuity, me talking about Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. So if what you could do is replay this 1 minute over and over again, you can see me say Trump's really bad for how he's handling the Epstein thing, and we should criticize him with every waking breath that we ever have. Don't worry about feeding your family. Don't worry about supporting them. Don't worry about taking care of yourself whatsoever. All that matters is Trump Epstein. So you join me in saying Trump Epstein, Trump Epstein, Trump Epstein, Trump Epstein, Trump Epstein, Trump Epstein, Trump Epstein. There you go. That's 55 seconds. The minute will be complete here soon. Please put that in replay for the rest of the show. Thank you. There we go. But I didn't like Trump on it. Did not like it. Now I explain my rationale of why I think Trump most likely was doing this. Remember the Wall Street Journal story that came out then a little while after that, where Trump had written like a birthday card allegedly to Jeffrey Epstein? And I was like, most likely what's happening is they're going to Trump. They're like, there's really nothing in these files. There's shit that will embarrass people, but there's nothing that speaks to criminality really. And there's stuff in there that's just salacious allegations about you. And the media and the Democrats are already waiting to run attacks on you based on your name appearing in these files. And so Trump was probably like, forget it then. And I think that also, you probably had a lot of people that were contacting Trump like, look, my name's in these files. I don't want it released. I didn't do anything. That's what I think was probably happening. Now, does this mean there was never anything in the files? No. There's all sorts of explanations. Could be that they're just lying to Trump, including Pam Bondi. It could be that They're not lying because the evidence has been destroyed long ago. Remember, Epstein's arrest originally was 2008. If it incriminated the FBI in covering up for the most heinous crimes imaginable against children, you think the FBI for the past 18 years just let that evidence sit around? Probably not. Nonetheless, that was my most likely explanation of what was going on. Of course, you know what the argument was going to be from the Trump haters. This proved that Trump was not just covering up, but he himself was involved in terrible crimes against children, and you see it all over the place. I've debated them over and over that definitively say, yes, Trump assaulted children. And of course, we saw files starting to get released. Little by little, there was redactions. Now we saw a big trove of files released here yesterday. But before we get into what's in the files, let me take a step back and give an alternate perspective. I don't know, files aside, that Epstein did what everyone is basically implying he did. And this is going to be a hot take. People are going to get real pissed. In fact, 2000 era Rob would probably be pissed at what I'm about to say. But I'm not saying definitively, but I'm starting to question it. See, because the idea I had what was going on was like, there were like these 11-year-old girls, maybe boys or younger, and that they were basically kidnapping these children and then having them perform these heinous acts. And that may very well have happened. But now it's looking more like, to the fact that there were underagers, that they were probably like, believably upon looking at adults, like 16 or 17. Now, did anyone involved know these girls were 16 or 17? Maybe. Maybe Epstein or Ghislaine Maxwell knew. But would a random person at their party know that? I don't know. And in fact, it does make sense. One of the ways you may blackmail people is you would say, here's an attractive lady that's hitting on you at poolside. Go ahead, I have an extra bedroom. Hey, I just filmed you and that chick was 16. Now, am I saying that sleeping with the 16-year-old's a good thing? No. But two things. It ain't 9 and 10-year-olds, and the idea that's number one. Number two is there may be more excuses given then to the person that engaged in that act. There's a difference between sleeping with a woman you think's 19 or 20 who ends up being 17 versus intentionally sleeping with someone you know is underage. There's a difference. I'm not defending it. I'm not saying if you intentionally sleep with a 17-year-old that you haven't committed a crime and you don't deserve to be fucking ostracized and punished. But can we agree it's different than an 11-year-old? The other thing is, do I believe there were victims of Jeffrey Epstein? I do. But do I also believe there's a lot of people that will capitalize on being alleged victims? Yeah. Yeah, I do. For example, let's say you were a high-end call girl in the Miami area, and you're approached by Jeffrey Epstein's people. We'll pay you $10,000 to come to our island tonight, and we're going to have high-end clientele. What we'll need from you is service their needs and be discreet. That's it. $10,000. I'm imagining there's a lot of women that would say, yeah, sure. But then later, if you were part of that and you were okay with it and this story broke, don't you think the incentive would be huge to say, I was a victim? Oh, my goodness. Not to mention the incentive for people to just make any bombastic claim they want. Have we learned nothing from Me Too? Have we learned nothing that a woman could just make any accusation, even if it's bullshit? And in this particular story, all sides, Republicans, Democrats, all of them have a motivation to say, yes! What's that? Bill Clinton's name was there. He must have did this shit. Oh, Trump's name's there. He must have did that shit. Oh, there's Bill Barr's name. He must have did that shit. So we find ourselves in the perfect two movies scenario. Everyone you support or thinks decent, you're going to say, I don't believe the allegations. That's what I do. And then the people you don't like, you're going to say, yep, I believe that shit. What are we going to do? Everybody sees what they want. Maybe it turns out that what we thought in our minds that Epstein Island wasn't near to the level. Maybe it was, and they destroyed the evidence. Maybe it was involved with intel, but it wasn't. The intel was intentionally setting up underagers, and Epstein just brought in some underagers. Maybe not. Maybe it is this fucking horrible, disgusting things. I don't know. What I do know is this. 90% of people are going to see a name in there, and based on whether or not they like that name, that's going to be what their reaction's going to be to it. If you like Trump and you see his name there, you're going to be like, this is bullshit. If you like Biden and you see his name in there, you're going to be like, this is bullshit. And if you dislike him, you're going to say, this is proof. Now, I talked about this before. I said it seems like a lot of these women that came out, a lot of them are just straight up making shit up. Or, yeah, maybe they were there and they were having sex, but it was like just prostitution, which isn't good, by the way. I'm not a fan of prostitution. But we can all agree with that, right? Someone paying a 25-year-old woman for a consensual sex act, not good. But that's a far cry from forcing yourself on an underager. So that's where we find ourselves. We find ourselves in a position where everybody's seeing what they want. And before we get into sort of more of the specific details, a word of warning. I, myself, also fall for shit. I try my best, but just today I put out a story about a Supreme Court decision favoring Trump. Turns out it was a guy that was reporting on a court decision from like 2 months ago. Misleading. What are we going to do when AI gets more sophisticated? What are we going to do? Instead of just these files, as you see, there's going to be video. There's Donald Trump, a video, walking into a bedroom with what looks like a child. What are we going to do? I don't know that it's survivable. And it won't matter if you're like, we have sophisticated AI tools that can say, wait a minute, we've analyzed this, and we think it's actually AI. Too late. Dick Durbin just introduced a blatantly AI photo into the halls of Congress as evidence of the Alex Preddy shooting, where one of the officers standing above him holding the gun was headless. And it was entered into evidence. When we see this with these, what would we do if one of the, forget about making videos and photos. How about just staging an email? What would we do? Let's say they release another trove next week. And in the thousands upon thousands of things, there's one email from Epstein to Ghislaine, right? And it just says, Biden really brought great cheese pizza yesterday. Can't wait for him to spend the night again next week. Call the young girls. And what if that's bullshit? What if it was just someone made that up, but it got submitted and the FBI hoovered that up? And so it gets released in these files, and then the FBI is like, look, here was the email, but we don't believe it. We think that this was... It's too late. It's too late then. And the problem is, you can see with what's going on with the anti-ICE protest, how effective controlling a narrative is. So if the people that control the narrative say, nothing to see here when it comes to one side, and the other side, they keep saying, yep, this is proof, this is proof, this is proof. So then we enter the files being released. Man, it really proves Trump did some really bad shit, right? Wow, they're devastating for Trump. Only it'll be allegations that people made to law enforcement, like a woman will make to law enforcement. And it'll have details wrong, such as, here's Midas Touch, left wing. New Epstein production features numerous allegations made against Trump and others. He had parties at Mar-a-Lago called Calendar Girls, with Epstein would bring children and Trump would auction them off. He measured the children's vulva and vaginas. It's devastating, right? Only online complainant reported she was a victim and witnessed to sex trafficking at the Trump golf course in Rancho Palos Verdes between 95 and 96. Complainant reported Ghislaine Maxwell as the madam broker for the sex partner. Clients of whom included Epstein, Robin Leach, etc. Except that golf course didn't exist as a Trump property until 10 years later. A lot of the allegations was made by a woman who recanted later. A lot of the allegations was against Trump was made by a woman who the FBI said, we looked into the story and it doesn't seem credible. And she has a history of these sort of claims and has been committed for psychiatric reasons to a hospital. And yet, all you have to do is search social media. It's open and shut. Trump did this. You see things like this. No contact made. Victim identified as deceased. Complainant did not have confirmed information. Phone number provided was bad. Could not identify valid number. No contact information provided. So when I asked, what did we mean when we said we wanted the Epstein Files released? Did you mean anyone who called in with anonymous tips to the FBI and made any allegation against anyone claiming they're involved with Epstein? Because that's what we're getting. Who's to say there's an end on the Epstein Files? Can I file a complaint anonymously right now with the FBI? What if I called in and said, I heard Thomas Massie did some things? Does that get released as part of the files too? What are we supposed to do with this? Do you think there was an incentive for people after Trump announced he was running for president to smear him? They did it with Kavanaugh. We saw that. But not Trump. They wouldn't do it with Trump. And yet this is just rant. By the way, many of these allegations were already released in books and articles years ago. It reminds me of this story. I'm going to screw up the details about Hunter S. Thompson. Hunter S. Thompson, gonzo journalism, he wrote Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, And he was covering a election one time. This is the story that I heard. He asked one of the candidates, what do you say about the allegations that you had a homosexual affair on your wife? And the candidate responded, there are no such allegations. And Hunter S. Thompson said, of course there are. I made them. It's quite humorous, but you see the problem. An allegation made, unsubstantiated about Trump, released, people see it. Let's wait 6 months, let's release it again. And act like, oh, bombshell. Am I going off the rails? Is that what you're saying, Dills Rams? Sure, make videos, man. Go ahead. Now, does this mean that everything released is nothing? No, not at all. There are things that are worth looking at, even if it doesn't prove the most heinous of allegations. Oh, yeah, no problem, Devil's Rubber. But you should make videos. Why not? I encourage other people to get involved. For example, an anonymous person saying celebrity X engaged in assaulting of children. I saw it. That's unverified. I'm sorry. I basically say I don't know what to do with that. I'm just like, I don't know what to say. It doesn't really influence my opinion. Let's assume that a celebrity went to Epstein's Island twice. And then we have an anonymous accusation that they assaulted a child. No, I'm sorry. I'm not evaluating that. I need more. I'm sorry. Even if it's someone I dislike. Sorry. I don't know how else. What am I supposed to do? I just accept it because it's someone I don't like. Well, here's a picture of them with Epstein. Okay. So then what is of value? Well, it's going to be different levels for different people. You can't blame people. And yes, the more contact with Epstein that we could provably see, and the more mention of people with Epstein from first-hand sources does make it more likely they engaged in a heinous activity, but it's certainly not proof. And by more likely, I take it from like 0%. Like, for example, I would say, who's can I pick on that won't get upset in the chat? There, my friend, Are We Not Men? I would say the chances that my friend, Are We Not Men, did anything heinous on Epstein Island is about 0.0%. If I found out that Are We Not Men at one point traveled to Epstein Island for some reason, then that would raise the chance that he did something bad to like 0.5%. But still not. You see the point? However, there are things of value. For example, the direct emails from Jeffrey Epstein. If we assume they are accurate, they do give us insight on at least what Epstein himself was thinking. So emails to and from Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, etc., I think that has some value. Things like the flight logs and things of that nature, those can have value. Again, does it prove that people were committing the most heinous of crimes? No, not unless Epstein's saying in these emails that people committed these crimes. But it lends more credence to the fact that possibly people were involved in bad things. Now, let me give you an example. Can anyone think that's watched me for any amount of time, who do you think some of the people that I really dislike from Trump's first term? Give me a second, I'm looking something up. Yeah, Bill Barr. That's one of my top people I dislike. I think Bill Barr allowed all the shenanigans to go on with the 2020 election, covered up for the FBI's corruption and going after Donald Trump. That's what I think of Bill Barr. I've probably complained more about Bill Barr being corrupt than any other person from Trump's administration in the first term. Here was in the files. Ready? This was in files released yesterday. Time received, July 10th, 2019. On July 10th, 2019 at 8:20 a.m. Eastern, some redacted, blank called the FBI National Threat Operations Center to identify herself as a victim of sex abuse by Jeffrey Epstein and others. In approximately 1994, blank revealed herself to be a blank as a past victim of sexual abuse by Epstein. Described the abuse occurred during parties, further identified as a friend of blank. In approximately 96, blank resided with blank blank. An unknown man abducted her from her home, which she later awoke in the presence of Harvey Weinstein and Sean Carter, that's Jay-Z, while Weinstein inserted his fingers and believed she was in Epstein's mansion. She estimated she was abducted on occasions, awaking each time in an opulent indoor setting, suffered from sex abuse on multiple occasions in which Epstein participated. She recalled Leon Black and Bill Barr, current United States Attorney General, being present during some of the occasions in abuse. Holy shit. Harvey Weinstein, Jay-Z, Leon Black, Bill Barr. Now, I fucking despise Bill Barr. Not a Jay-Z fan either. But What am I supposed to do with this information? Oh, that's it. Jay-Z and Bill Barr. What do I do with that? I'm not saying this protect Jay-Z and Bill Barr. I don't like them. But I can't believe based on an anonymous accusation. That means they did it. It's just like, okay, it's an accusation. That's the Epstein Files. That's so much of what we're seeing. That. I don't know what to do with these sorts of accusations that there's no proof. An anonymous person made an accusation. If the I don't think I need to tell you this. Part of the nature of accusations is that anyone could make them. Go look at what happened to Brett Kavanaugh. There was a woman that accused Brett Kavanaugh, and this was, I believe her name was Julie Swetnick, if I remember correctly. Man, what a pull, if that's right, if I'm right about that name. There was, what was the main lady's name? I could picture her. Christine Blasey Ford, Julie Swetnick, and I forget the third woman's name. Her claim was this. She was like 18, 19, 20 years old, an adult, went to one of Kavanaugh's parties, and they drugged her, and then a group of men sexually assaulted her while she was drugged in the most heinous way possible. And then she proceeded to keep going back to the house, to Kavanaugh's house, to provide alcohol for underage girls who would then get too drunk and have the same thing happen. And she watched this several times. Of course, forget about how outlandish the story is. If we are to believe her version, she literally, as the only person that was an adult, provided alcohol to help facilitate the gang assault of underagers several times. But this story was taken as credible. It was on the mainstream media. And the media and the Democrats were happy to run with it. E. John Carroll, there's an example. Any accusation against someone that the establishment doesn't like is taken as serious. What about Juanita Broderick against Bill Clinton? Well, we don't take that so serious, do we? How about Tara Reid that accused Joe Biden? We don't take that so serious, do we? How about Keith Ellison's wife? We don't take that so serious. So I could be running out there today and dunking the bell. Oh, Bill Barr's in the files. He's in the files. What do we do with that? Bill Barr was in the files. That's true. It's shocking the amount of people that were in the files. But once the files in part include, I mean, think about it. I asked this question earlier. When people said they wanted the files released, what did they mean? I don't know. I never really thought about it. But I certainly didn't mean any accusation ever. I don't think I meant that. Talking about the files being released, tell me if this is a fair interpretation of what you all may have meant if you said to release the files. Things that led to verified evidence that might point to wrongdoing. So, surveillance footage, videos, Epstein's notes, his emails, flight logs, those sort of things. So if you're a person who thought that's what the files are, and someone said to you, oh, and Bill Barr's in the files, isn't part of your reaction going to be, really? It seems like a big deal. Wow, Bill Barr's in the files. He was there. He was at Epstein Island. He was involved with this stuff, huh? By the way, what was the file that he was in? Was it like on surveillance footage they have him? They have Epstein. He was in Epstein's book. No. Someone made an accusation that him and Leon Black and Jay-Z and Harvey Weinstein assaulted them. Was there any follow-up or proof of this? No. Do we know that person's name? No. Just a redacted name made that claim once, though. In 2019, they made that claim. Doesn't that seem to be different? It's like, oh, well, okay. I forget who it was, but one of the first tranche of files that was released included this woman who was on social media saying, release the files. And then she was in the files. And she was pissed off. Now, the reason she was in the files was she was inquiring some things in order to help one of the alleged victims. And she wasn't too happy that the information about her doing this was released to the public. That's the files. You're in the files. Now, good luck. You can argue, but, wait. You're in the files. Good luck. Now, in her case, she'll be able to say, but look, in the files, I'm not accused of wrongdoing. Nonetheless, if someone wanted to smear her, imagine the campaign ad if she runs, for Congress. Our opponent was in the Epstein files. Epstein, a gross monster to the assault of children, and this one was in the files. Bam, run that minute ad. Technically true. And then she has to say, wait. I was in the file, but I didn't do anything. You've already lost. You've already lost the argument. Bill Barr's in the files. Jay-Z's in the files. Harvey Weinstein's in the files. Trump's in the files. Harvey Levin's in the files. Hakeem Giuffre in the files. What did I say that was inaccurate? You're welcome to call in and tell me how I went full idiotic on this. More than willing. If you want to call in and tell me how I'm incorrect in this. So when we have these accusations from people whose names we haven't seen that were never confirmed, what are we supposed to do with that information? There's enough red meat in there for both sides. There's Republicans and Democrats in there. Do we just assume that they are all guilty? None of them are guilty? I don't know. Now, there's other things, though, that I think we could get more utility out of, such as the emails from Jeffrey Epstein. Here was this person's criticism of me. No, I didn't want the information, just the flavor of things. Okay, whatever that criticism is. One of the things I've long said is people that were around Epstein before he was arrested, I think, depending on the specifics, if that's all we know, this person was around Epstein, I think there is a claim of a benefit of the doubt that we would say, oh yeah, my wife's at a Pauly D concert. That's where she's at with her friends. See? No criticism. Does anyone even have an implication of what this guy's saying? I would assume he's trying to say Trump did something wrong. Yes, like the guy from Pauly Shore, he's a DJ. The criticism's just, oh, you're tap dancing. Yeah, I can't speak for my wife's taste in... Who's Pauly D from the show Jersey Shore? He is now a DJ. But what's the what's the criticism here? Oh, you're tap dancing. Around what? Let's hear the accusations. What are the accusations that people want to talk about? I'm willing to hear them. What are they? No, I would assume this is someone that's like, Trump's in the files, he did something terrible. Let's hear them. What are the accusations? See? And this is the anti-Trump mantra. No specifics. Oh, he did it. He did it. He's in the files. Really, these accusations that the FBI looked at and were like, unsubstantiated. Woman went into psychiatric care, claimed she was assaulted at a golf course that didn't exist for another 10 years. Oh, you're tap dancing around. Around what? Now, the goal with people like William here is they just want you to bring up the specific accusation. That's what they want. The mere fact that you have, like I said earlier, with the woman who was, quote, in the files, the mere fact that you have to say, oh, you were in the files, and you have to say, no, I wasn't. You've lost already. That's what the people that dislike want to have occur. Just vague nonsense. What specifically you want to, you see me ask him? Gives no specifics. Oh, it's just your mistake. You're terrible. I don't like the flavor of what you're saying, not the information. What are you talking about? My guess is probably a bot or just a left-wing NPC. But anyways, we'll move on. I think we can glean information from some of the things that we see in the files. Now, let's say that you were a person who was in a business. You're a young, up-and-coming, if love to call in, this is so douchey. Dodge, dodge, dodge. How can I dodge when you haven't made a claim? What am I dodging? Now, I'll put the link out just for this guy, if love to call in. I know what I'm doing. So sneaky and slimy. You also could call in if you like. Happy to do it. While we wait for them to not call in. Don't call in if you're going to agree with me. Don't call in and say, oh, yeah, I just like the show. Just for them. Robert Whaley. Oh, we already did that one. Thank you. Naughty Germ, $5 as always. Thank you. Crash Test Dummy, $5 says one thing both the left and the right can agree on is that billionaires like Bill Gates could still be losers and degenerates. Yeah. Sucker Carrig, $5 says, I think if it's a big deal, Dems would have used it. Or do we think that after everything else pulled, they would have burned down some of their own to beat Trump? Yeah, I think it's an excellent point. If they had the goods on Trump, it's some sort of proof, they would have released it. Intel Wild, $5 says, I don't care about the files anymore. He's dead. She's in jail from the 90s, etc. Perry Incorporated, $5 says, some kind of documentation as to what content involved who. No blackmail operation could exist to that degree without strict organization. Yeah, it's something we'd want to see. And then for another $5, thanks, Perry, says, if I'm being honest, I don't think any actionable evidence exists anymore. That's my feelings as well. Janet Ferguson, thanks so much. New member. AJC, $5 says, Trump, Epstein. Good point. Jet, $5 says, it would be cool if you had an auto-close captions enabled. I don't know how to do that, but I'd appreciate your work. I thought that they were supposed to be. I don't know that it works live. It should work when you go back and watch the video, though. The Toggog, $5 says, I see what you're saying. Here's what I am at. We're going to see a lot of stuff that no one will see prosecution for this and no one will be charged. Right. Psycher Carrig, $2 says, the files are the friends we made along the way. Perry Incorporated, $5 says, Rob, you're speaking as if you'd be able to tell that sophisticated AI is detectable. It won't be. You should assume you're already tricked right now. That could be the case. Socrates, $5 says, a white Russian listening to jazz noir, 1930s serial music, listening to Robnoerr debunking Epstein Files my Saturday night, and I'm content. Well, I'm glad you're appreciating. Appreciate you as well. Thanks. Starch Manning, $5 says, the top marginal tax rate was 91% in 1960. We did that. We built a real middle class. The Heritage Foundation bullshit ruined this country. Almost no one paid that top rate. Lavin, $5 says, the most sickening part about this is that nobody will go to jail. Nobody will face any sort of legal consequences. The elites protect themselves. Robert Whaley, $2 says, too many gray names. And then donates 10 memberships. Thank you. Sam Slenderman, $5 says, I'm making the accusation that Robnoerr took my money. Here's the proof. Damn. Guilty. Thanks so much. Psycher Carrig, again, $5 says, I've actually been thinking the reasoning behind no one dropping the files is that none or very little of it's actionable by police. Right. Call me GL. 5 months been a member, says I was most hopeful for his Xbox Live gamer tag. That would have been nice. Could you imagine if you were like constantly getting harassed by some guy in Call of Duty and it was Jeffrey Epstein? Psycher Carrig, $2 says, files to me was credible, actionable intelligence. Yep. Vincent DeVici, $5. Thanks, man. Says, hey, man, you managed to check out Francesca from Bituation Room? She's on Piers Morgan showing her hair infinite wisdom. I haven't yet. Thank you. The Wait Bucks, $50. Thank you so much. Says, don't tell me what to do. Are we not, man? And lastly, Perry, $5 says, as an addition to AI comments, we still don't know how many bots are on Twitter, right? Now, was this guy calling in? Yep. What's up, Andrew? Absolutely true.
I don't think he's calling in, Rob. Cowardly move.
No, the two guys that were the big talkers aren't calling in.
No, I think cowardly move. Cowardly move there, Rob.
What are you saying, dude? Oh, wow. Great argument. It is. I'm willing to take in. I saw Andrew put next. Hey, show me your best evidence. And it's just these accusations. That's all it is. Like the one I showed you there. That it's like, well, the FBI looked into it. There's no proof. The callback number didn't work. Everything was tips on a hotline except one. And the one that wasn't, that they were like, oh, this was under penalty of perjury. Okay, but the woman later recanted. But other than that, what's in here? I'm willing to accept, like, look, in this email, Epstein said something about Trump. Okay, that's better evidence. Yep, this is it. You want evidence of PDF? Why are you protecting PDFs? Every DG lib online. That's it. And, you know, I've debated Connor. He says the same thing. Yes, Trump did this. He's a PDF. Prove it? I just know it. He's covering up the files. Hey, William, you had your chance, man. Good job trolling. Now let's look at the circumstantial evidence. One, if there were files that implicated in a serious way, an actionable way that rose to any level of credibility, why in the world would the Biden Justice Department and the Democrats that would have had access to those for 4 years, that literally threw the book at Trump for everything, they went after this man for the Stormy Daniels story. They got 37 felony charges. They went after him for paying back a loan that he got on his property. They were going after him for January 6th. They went after his attorneys. Why wouldn't they utilize this to start an investigation into Donald Trump? What is... I could give a potential reason, if you like. But before I give my reason, could someone give me a reason? What's the argument here? They're just like, nah. We're going to go after all these bullshit charges of Trump that most of his supporters and people in the country won't care about. Like, really, at the end of the day, like, if you really get down to it, I know that the FBI repeats this mantra. They repeat it. All the lefties go, Trump's a 37-time felon. They all repeat it. But if you go to any normie person that's not a total anti-Trump person, and you're like, okay, here was the alleged crime. He reimbursed his lawyer who paid to keep a woman that was blackmailing Trump to keep that story closed. This porn star Stormy Daniels was going to come public during the election and say, I slept with Donald Trump. And they didn't want that story to get out, so they paid for it. Most people would go, I don't give a shit. Okay, but how about this one? He allegedly overvalued the property that he had and got a loan with it. Oh, so he scammed them and didn't pay it back? No, he paid it back with interest. Most people don't give a shit. The January 6th thing was at least a case that's like, the implications there were at least risen to the level that the average person would take interest. He tried to steal an election. That's something that I would say is worth having a conversation about. But no one really gives a shit. Campaign contribution, yeah, whatever, man. That's fucking small potatoes. Hillary Clinton did the same thing, by the way, in the same district. She paid lawyers at Perkins Coie for campaign research and wrote it off as legal expenses. The exact same thing they claimed that Trump did. They were given a small fine. So if they were willing to go to those lengths to stop Donald Trump, and then furthermore, do you really believe, let's ask this. At some point, is this a fair statement? Someone tell me if they disagree. At some point, the internals within the Democratic Party had to say that it was possible that Donald Trump could win the 2024 election, right? Don't you agree with that? Right? At some point, the Democrats were sort of wargaming and they're looking and they're like, okay, it's not like they were like, oh, 100% chance we win. Why would they take that chance? Why not deploy your best weapon at that point? We have this evidence that Trump did these crimes. Why not do it then? The FBI is going to, because it's one thing to just say, and by the way, most of the stories you're hearing about Trump in the Epstein release had already been released and were talked about. So why, if it was actionable, if it was rose to the level that there was any sort of remote chance that you could credibly claim that you were starting an FBI investigation into Trump for these allegations, why wouldn't you do it? It almost seems like they knew that there was nothing there. There's nothing they could do with it. Someone calls into a hotline and says, I saw Trump smoking crack. Okay, what's the details? Click. Let's call back that number. Oh, it doesn't. It goes to a dead number. What are they supposed to do? Well, better start an FBI investigation, right? All the lefties want to just show me the evidence that you think you have. So before this tranche, we had, and I saw people fall for this hook, line, and sinker. Let's see if I could bring it up. Now, this level of proof is a little better in the sense that this is an email from Epstein. Now, these are the sort of things that we should pay attention to, what he's saying in the emails. That's better that it speaks to something that might matter more than just any random anonymous person making an accusation that there was no further proof about. So, everybody went nuts when this broke. I forget what I was doing. I was off doing something, and this story broke at the time. This is an email from Jeffrey Epstein. It says, I want you to realize that the dog that hasn't barked is Trump. Victim spent hours at my house with him. He has never once mentioned police chief, etc. I'm 75% of the way there. And this was it. I saw people saying, this is it. This is proof. I was always skeptical, but now I know it's true. How could you come back from this, Trump? There it is. That's proof. Trump was in the room with the victim. Remember this story broke? It was all over the news. Now, I don't know why people jumped onto that. I guess it's just Epstein mentioned Trump in an email. By the way, this email was from 2011. Look at it again. I want you to realize the dog that hasn't barked is Trump. The victim spent hours at my house with him. He has never once been mentioned. Police chief, etc. So all it was Epstein sent an email that said Trump was with the victim. Bam, proof. And the only thing that saved Trump here, or else this would have been devastating. And even some of your normie friends would have said, oh my gosh. The only thing that saved was the name of that victim got unredacted, and it was Virginia Giuffre, who had publicly gone on record and said that Trump tried to help her and did nothing wrong. Now, the Democrats knew that, so they redacted her name in an email that had already been made public. But they knew if the name Giuffre was there, well, people will be able to easily see that this isn't saying Trump did anything wrong. Now, it seems clear to me, even without knowing the victim's name, that there's nothing here that suggests any sort of proof that Trump did anything wrong with the victim. In fact, when I first read this, and I was like, the dog that hasn't barked is Trump. He spent hours with the victim. It makes even more sense now that we know the victim said that Trump tried to help her, but what that sounds like is Trump may be cooperating with the police. Epstein's trying to figure out who's been suspiciously silent. You know who's been silenced? Trump. And he was with one of the victims. Remember, this was after Epstein was arrested in 2008. Now, does this mean that Trump went to law enforcement? There are claims that possibly he did, but I'm not saying it rises to the level of proof of that. What I am saying is the best guess of what's being mentioned in this email is Epstein's worried that Trump's collaborating with victims to go to law enforcement. That's the best reading of that. And yet, half of this country was like, this is proof that Trump assaulted a victim. With nothing. No proof at all. More super chats real quick. Kokomo, $20 says Trump Epstein times a million. Ruben Timothy, thanks so much. $50 says the contents of the file are important. Wouldn't you agree? Mainly to demonstrate that people guilty of this sick stuff from our society. Asking how real the evidence is also important. So to what degree of orchestration are we assuming? Well, the problem is, I'll answer that question in a minute here. Starch Manning, $5 says the economy sucks, the world hates us, and we're giving away rights to Stephen Miller Weekly to protect a PDF. Cool job, MAGA. You played yourself. Thanks so much for your $5. And there's the sort of limitless Trump derangement syndrome. No proof. I offered. People could call in. Give me their best proof. And then Andrew from over at the Crucible, Andrew Wilson, thanks so much, my friend. $20 says, Hawking popping wheelies in Epstein's basement. Britney Spears kept prisoner by Epstein bribes. Elon Musk wants to party with kids. And Melania's director knew Epstein. Clearly, they're all diddling kids. This comment says, what are you insinuating? Epstein was worried about Trump knowing too much? Doesn't that imply he was part of it? How? Let's assume this. Let's assume that this woman approached Trump and said, Mr. Trump, I'm glad you're here. I feel like I'm unsafe here. Epstein's abused me and he's abusing other women. Is there any way you'd be able to help me? And Epstein says, Trump's the one that's not talking. Sure, bud. Lol. You see, now what I said earlier, this is proof positive of these people. See, Trump did something. Do you see? Proof positive. Now, they'll happily vote for someone like Joe Biden, that we had a woman come out and say that he sexually assaulted her, like Tara Reid. They don't give a shit. They're like, I don't believe that. I don't believe that. If only it was in an email that didn't make the allegation, then they would believe it, I guess. Could be that they were trying to get blackmail on Trump but couldn't. The hypothetical is not outlandish. Why would this hypothetical be outlandish? that someone that later came forward as a victim who said, Donald Trump tried to help me, that an email retroactively going back saying that victim that's gone public and accusing me of doing bad shit was in a room a long time with Donald Trump, and Trump's been suspiciously quiet. What do you think that means? Do we agree with the following statement? Virginia Giuffre said Trump never did anything. We agree with that. Okay. Now, if Virginia Giuffre herself is saying Trump tried to help her, do you think it was possible that at one point she approached Trump? Do you think that's possible? My guess would be that would probably be the case if she said Trump tried to help her, right? And then once you would say, yeah, okay, that could have happened, do you think it's also possible that Epstein could be thinking like, who's my ops? Who may it be that'll be working against me? Well, one of those victims, or the people accusing me, was hanging around with Trump, and he's been quiet. How is it possible Trump could get info to stop Epstein without either working for law enforcement or having his own knowledge because he was a witness? Because one of the people that was a victim came to him? Do you have info about Epstein being bad? That means you were involved, right? You would say, no, because I saw the evidence. That never occurred to you? That one of the people that was victimized, in this case, Virginia Giuffre, who said Trump tried to help her, the reason he tried to help her was because she talked about this? Or that he saw something happen to her to some degree that was uncomfortable? How do you know he didn't go to law enforcement? Maybe he did. Maybe he didn't think it rose to the level of proof, so instead he tried to help the woman in other ways. And Starch Manning, $2 says, so do you believe the 2020 election was stolen? Why don't you send in another $50 and I'll answer the question. Kirk Sense, $5 says, when truth plays no part in your worldview, you don't need proof, just a feeling, yeah. And Devil's Raspberry, $2 says, reminder chat, 30% chance Brett Michaels is your dad. My dad? If Trump did cooperate with law enforcement, there's a good chance we wouldn't know. No, going to law enforcement isn't the only option. That's not true at all. How is that the case? Let me ask the audience. If a woman came up to you and said, by the way, Tom Hanks molested me, you going to the law enforcement right then? Would you? I probably wouldn't. I'd say, maybe this lady's crazy. Are you all right, ma'am? I don't believe you. I don't believe the people saying yes. I don't. I think you're lying. We don't even know, based on this email, exactly what Virginia Giuffre told. We just know that they were in a room. Giuffre spoke highly. The victim herself spoke highly of Donald Trump. Said he never did anything. He tried to help her. And you're like, the fact that Epstein could have assumed that she was working with Trump, that means she must have said XYZ. How do you know? What did she tell him? Power dynamics issue irrelevant. Now, anyone that's not a complete and total Trump hater would read this email knowing that the alleged victim here said that Trump never did anything to her and that he tried to help her and say, oh, yeah, that's a nothing burger then. But if you're a Trump derangement person, like those in the chat, you say, that's outrageous. Clearly, this proves Trump was involved. Can one of you explain to me then, so was he blackmailing Virginia Giuffre, threatening her? What's your story? How this works out? Anyone? Can anyone explain to me? Someone go through the logic here, what the theory is? Well, the sentence could mean a lot of different things. But the fact that we know that the victim in the statement publicly said Trump never did anything wrong and that he tried to help her would seem to suggest that two things. Those that jumped to the conclusion before they knew the victim's name that this meant Trump was somehow involved were full of shit, because it's easy to read this sentence in a way that doesn't show that. And secondly, the best interpretation of this is that it doesn't speak to Trump's wrongdoing, seeing as how the woman herself, who was a victim, said he did nothing wrong. I don't know how any good faith person could come to any conclusion beyond that. Even had the victim said, Trump did something to me, this still doesn't prove that he did. But at least that'd be better evidence. Epstein claims he saw them together. The woman's claiming something bad happened. But in this case, we have the opposite. Epstein said he saw them together, and the woman's claiming Trump was good, never did anything wrong, and tried to help her. So that's what we had as proof prior to today. Now we have this. Complaint following up on the call at the New York Police Department regarding a previous tip reporting that she was forced to perform sex acts when she was 13 and pregnant in 1984. Complainant also reported there were high-profile individuals involved in her sex trafficking and the murder and disposal of her daughter. Complainant reported Donald Trump participated regularly in paying money to force her to perform sex acts with him, and alleged Trump was present when her uncle murdered her newborn child. No contact could be made. Then a caller said was taken by boat to Epstein Island. Caller said it was complicated and involved Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. Caller became a school counselor and had a meeting with school principal Linda Kitts and a police officer where the caller informed that there were pictures of herself with Epstein. Caller reported the school was mad at her for not being a Trump person, and the school wanted her to say things against Andrew Cuomo. The FBI and Donald Trump were on the phone during the meeting. Callers believes FBI had baby pictures of her with Epstein. No contact made. Pervasive tips indicated blank had called in and said she had chemically induced amnesia and struggled with knowing what was a dream and reality. Caller reported that in 1987, a friend of Victim 1 was out drinking and ended up at Trump Plaza. Victim 1 saw Donald Trump and wanted to meet him. An unknown man approached her and offered to introduce her to Trump. The unknown man gave Victim 1 a drink, and Victim 1 woke up naked, sore, with $300 in bed. Victim 1 didn't remember how she got to the room. She remembered seeing a flash of Trump's face. Victim 1 called the caller and told her that she thought she had been assaulted. Victim 1 did not go to the hospital to have an assault kit performed because she didn't think anyone would believe her, especially because she was drunk. Victim 1's husband's business had problems. The supplies of Victim 1 believed that Trump was behind it. Victim 1 also started dating a lawyer, identified unknown, who was married. Victim 1 had a fight with the lawyer boyfriend and went to a bar. Victim 1 left the bar with the man who no one in the bar recognized but seemed familiar with Victim 1. Victim 1 was never seen again. A few years ago, remains were discovered that matched the description of what Victim 1 was wearing when she went missing. DNA test at the time. So this is a person that said, this lady told me the following. FBI says no contact made. Victim identified as deceased and complainant did not have confirmed information. So you could read in the newspaper a woman was found deceased and then say, oh yeah, I was friends with that woman and she said Trump did it. Then we have, in 2004-2005, Sir Ivan Witzig hosted a party with Jeffrey Epstein, Sammy Sosa, and Donald Trump were in attendance. Patti LaBelle's PR agent stood at the door. At the party, caller met an individual who was approximately 18 to 23 years of age who was brought from Oklahoma for a modeling job, but then sold to a man in France. Several women were being auctioned, and a woman, possibly known as Colette LNU, was the madam. A couple of years later, caller saw Colette at the Cheetah Club in New York, and she told one of Santos' friends that Jamie Foxx was interested in spending a night with her and that he could pay her a lot of money. The phone number provided was bad, and we couldn't identify a valid number. Next call. Donald Trump was president, had parties at Mar-a-Lago called Calendar Girls. Jeffrey Epstein would bring children in, and Trump would auction them off. He measured the children's private areas by entering a finger and rated the children. The guests were elder men, included Elon Musk, Don Jr., Ivanka Trump. No contact information provided. These are the allegations. Yep, that's it. That proves it. There it is. The files prove it. What are we supposed to do with this? Then there's this one. Okay, this is an affidavit. A little more serious. Let's see what it says. I personally witnessed Donald Trump telling the plaintiff that she couldn't ever say anything if she didn't want to disappear like a 12-year-old female, and that he was capable of having her whole family killed. After leaving the employment of Epstein in the year 2000, I personally threatened by Epstein that I would be killed, my family killed if ever disclosed, and physical sexual abuse of minor females I personally witnessed by Mr. Epstein and any of his guests. I'm coming forward to swear to the truthfulness of the physical and sexual abuse I personally witnessed with minor females at the hand of Trump and Epstein, including the plaintiff during the time of employment between the years of 1990 to 2000 for Epstein. I swear to these facts under penalty of perjury. I declare under penalty of perjury it's true. Tiffany Doe, which is a pseudonym. Wow. There you go. That was from 2016, after Trump announced he was running for office. Of course, we've already known about this. All of this was released in 2016. And perhaps you'd be interested in, like, this article. Troubled woman with a history of drug use who claimed she was assaulted by Trump at Epstein's sex party at age 13 made it all up. Yeah, she recanted. Actually, I'm not sure that What are we supposed to do with that? Here's what Grok said about it. The allegation appears in dataset 9 of the Epstein file, based on a 2016 sworn declaration in a lawsuit that was later dropped without adjudication. It's unproven it's been called into question by some sources potentially fabricated. Diverse reports note no evidence corroborates it. So what? Someone else, give me the best evidence that was released here. Give me the best evidence that was released. Because everybody's saying, this is it. Now that these files came out, this proves it. Where? Please, show me your best evidence. I'm trying to go through it here. Someone let me know. I'm willing to hear it. Where's the evidence? Allegations made into a tip line. A story that we heard in 2006, the Tiffany Doe story that's been available for damn near 8 years now. That went absolutely nowhere and there was never evidence to corroborate it. Where's the evidence? And yet, that's the claim. You see, because they don't give a shit. The truth is, these people do not give a shit whatsoever about the evidence. They don't like Trump, so they'll just say this to smear him. That's it. They'll just repeat. See? Just let them walk. Republicans. See? No proof. None. Now we're back to this. He told a joke to a 10-year-old that he would date her in 10 years. Well, that's it then. There we go. Well, that's definitive. What next? The Billy Bush story? There will not be concrete evidence because Trump is the president. And yet Biden was president for 4 years. Why didn't he release the evidence? That's strange. Look at them. They're crawling out of the woodwork, aren't they? Now, there were things in the files that were released that I hadn't seen before, though maybe they were released before, but here's one. Michael Wolff, left-wing Trump-hating author. Here's an email. This isn't just some allegation that some woman put in. This is an email from Michael Wolff to Jeffrey Epstein. They were in constant communications. This is from 2019. February 1st, 2019. Michael Wolff, journalist, loved by the media, makes shit up about Trump all the time, says, prostitution is a state crime. Never before a man in his own house charged with soliciting. In Florida, first offenders are required to take sex ed and get a pretrial diversion. No criminal record. There's a felony solicitation for third offense. A grand jury was held and they found me guilty of 1 count of felony solicitation because there were many girls. Mandatory diversion sentence. A grand jury usually surveyed the house, letting all the girls come and go. Called in the FBI. They did not like the grand jury result. And unreleased to the press the raw sewage of police interviews. No girl was cross-examined ever. Unheard of. These girls returned to the house multiple times for $200 for a rub and tug. No sex. Some worked in the lock massage parlors, most in their mid-20s. There's only press stories told by strippers of buying my girlfriend from Slovakia from her parents, girls under 15, all made up to get to the press. The FBI puts a task force together titled Operation Leap Year to investigate my personal massage activity. Nuts. Interviews with my chiropractor, medical info. Blank. Or I'm sorry, this was from Jay to Jeffrey Epstein. Blank worked at Mar-a-Lago. Trump knew of it, and he came to my house many times during that period. The testimony of the houseman, John Alessi, confirmed it. He never got a massage. This is Epstein as Michael Wolff's trying to come up with shit to smear Trump in 2019 to try to give more favorability to Epstein. Come on, give us the dirt on Trump. Give us the Trump. Trump never did anything. Is Epstein lying here? Maybe. But that's a damn sight more convincing than some random allegation from some number that the FBI couldn't call back. Harvey Levin from TMZ. Tried to call you. Harvey Levine, who runs TMZ, is a good friend. They haven't reported on this at all, but might be able to get something before the Duchess and are backpedaling. Wow, that's great. Recommending going to Harvey Levine, who's a friend, to help out Epstein. Nice. Now, I'm assuming that Harvey Levine, who not a fan at all. A Trump, I'm sure he'll be right out on this, right? Reid Hoffman, who's one of the people that's been most aggressive in supporting financially going after Trump. Reid will spend the night at the 71st. Reid Hoffman will go to the ranch for the weekend. He'll fly to St. Thomas. From St. Thomas, he'll hop on his heli and fly to the island. His name appears more than 2,600 times in the files. Epstein described Hoffman as a close friend, advised him to tax strategies. Now, does this mean Reid Hoffman did anything? No. If Trump would pardon Epstein, why didn't he? He was in office when they arrested Epstein. What's my angle here? What you tell me, what do you think my angle is? Can anyone get what my angle is? I'm telling the truth as I see it. I don't see any proof that Donald Trump assaulted children. Is that an angle? What's your angle asking that question? Here's Reid Hoffman asking Epstein to donate to Cory Booker in 2014. This group emailed a friends and colleagues, share recent essays I've written and conducted on politicians I support. As citizens, it's important we support people going to politics. I highly recommend contributing to the campaigns of David Chiu and Cory Booker. Now, again, I think there's more to say to the people that were intentionally palling around with Epstein after his first conviction. Hey, look at that. More super chats coming in. Thanks. Steven Alvarez, $5 says, we have video proof of a Maryland man in the middle of human trafficking and the left still calls him a victim of Trump. They never cared for victims. Yeah. Zach Gelby, $20 says, to all these people that are accusing Trump of this with no evidence, I would have more respect to you if you would go against the people in your own camp that are normalizing the behavior and calling these people's maps. Yes. So Crates, $10 says, 2020 election summation. Leftists persuaded their parents and relatives who normally don't vote to sign a paper ballot, filled out by said leftists, and then mailed them in. Illegal? No. Gay? Yes. It's worse than that. 1 out of every 5 people polled by Rasmussen said that they filled out a ballot for someone else, which is illegal. Sam Slenderman, $5 says, lol, all these sound like amateur attempts to submit movie scripts to a Hollywood producer. Only one I believe is the Sosa one. Sammy says. Angler Gang, $5. Play clip of white notes handed to Obama, Clinton's, Bush's, and Biden's at Bush Sr.'s funeral. They know everything. Sorry. Makes sense with news today. Jet, $5 says somebody's doing this type of shit. How Long Nate, $10 says accusations and open court records that counter. Hit the like and subscribe and share on socials. Thank you. For Task, $10 says anyone angry with your content? It's because they've just been robbed. Good night. Thank you. And then Starch Manning, $10 again. Thank you. Says excuse it all. Trump said Epstein liked women on the younger side. Epstein reportedly said they were best friends for 10 years. Why does Maxwell have a sweetheart deal? Acosta on Trump's cabinet? I don't know. Send in a $50 donation and I'll answer those questions. So as you can see, here's what happens. This is constantly the story that it's been with Trump the entire time. The left makes some sort of claim, and it doesn't reach critical mass. Trump hired Acosta, who was one of the FBI agents that arrested. Okay. So therefore that proves he did something. No. Okay, but here's new evidence. Okay, but that evidence doesn't do anything. But why did he hire Acosta? See the game? All these files today are devastating for Trump. Really, I'm looking through it. Can you tell me? Well, he hired Acosta. He told a joke one time to a girl who was like 10 that he would date her in 10 years. So, yes, we already knew all of that stuff. Not convinced. Now, I'd have more respect for this position. Look, okay, these files aren't flattering for Trump, but sure, it doesn't prove anything. But I think he's holding back the real incriminating stuff about him. Okay, theoretically, that could be true. But the idea that the shit that's publicly available proves that he assaulted children is laughable. It's absolutely fucking laughable. Just say it. Like, I listen, I'm going to be honest with you, lefties and right-wing Trump haters. I believe some conspiracies. And so I'm not going to fucking shit on you if you're like, I personally believe that there's files out there that prove that Trump did some shit and he ain't allowing the release. I don't think you're right, but fair enough. That's an argument. I just don't know how we could look at the shit we're seeing, like, and say that this proves anything. Here they were setting up meetings with Chuck Schumer in 2018. Does this mean Chuck Schumer assaulted children? No. My best guess is that a lot of these Democrats, they don't give a fuck. They just want money. They want donors. And so, who cares? This dude Epstein, no one gave a fuck in 2011, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. During the Obama years, no one was talking about Epstein. He got arrested, slap on the wrist, whatever. He's still a guy with a bunch of money. Hey, you want to donate to Cory Booker? It's not good. Soliciting donations from someone who's been convicted, even with a slap on the wrist of solicitation of minors. But okay, fine. But if that's the game that we're going to play, well, Trump's name was messaged. Okay, there's Chuck Schumer. Of course. That absolutely. It doesn't mean the accusations are false. Sure. I accuse who do we see in the chat? Let me find someone to pick on. I guess I have to go back to Are We Not Men? Oh, there, Jordan Lofgren. I accuse Jordan Lofgren of being a eunuch. There we go. He's castrated. He's a eunuch. But Rob, what's your proof? I'm just making the accusation. Although some may say that's not good proof, it doesn't prove the accusation's not true. Sure, I guess that's true. Me making an unverified claim doesn't prove that the unverified claim's not true. But what are we supposed to do with that? Jordan denies the accusations. And look, not to make light of a heinous fucking topic here, but I've done these sorts of things in the past. I had a friend in college that I started a vicious rumor that he was born without an asshole and I had to have one surgically put in just because I thought it'd be funny. So there was a group of people for a long while that thought that one of my college roommates, was born without an asshole. I didn't really provide any proof. I just made the claim and let the rumor mill begin. And like it's these sort of things. Like, well, what if Trump admitted that he was a PDF blackmailed by Epstein? Would I start crying? No, I would call for his fucking execution immediately and removal from office immediately. If you admitted that you're a PDF, would you start crying? What would I accept as proof that you're a PDF, common sense? Do you see how these questions are designed? Wow, why won't he answer? Why won't he answer what the proof would be? You see the game? Have you stopped beating your wife? When we're talking about any crime, there are different levels of proof that would be acceptable to me before I would find it. Sometimes maybe a confession, though sometimes not. Other times we could have physical evidence that was shown. There could be video evidence. There could be credible witness testimony under oath that's verified by corroborating facts, etc., etc. I don't know. I could ask you about any single crime that you thought wasn't committed. Well, what level of proof would you require? Go ahead. Give me an example. You're just going to have to say fucking cliche things like me. I don't know. Physical evidence? I'm asking you all, what's your proof? And no one could give me anything. At all. Like, it's just, whoa, he said a joke to a 10-year-old once. Okay. At least say E. John Carroll. At least say that. Oh, he was found civilly liable in a trial. That's the best argument you have. There you go. It's been a decade. How could you have physical evidence? Well, one, you could still have physical evidence from a decade ago, hypothetically. Secondly, so is your argument that levels of proof that you would need to be required to believe something, you're willing to lower that level if it's been a decade? That's the argument now? No, it wouldn't be that I just need a video. Common sense. What would you need to believe that Trump didn't do this? How about that? What's the level of proof you would need to believe that Trump didn't assault children? What level of proof would you need, common sense, to believe Trump didn't assault children? Now watch him struggle. See? We couldn't prove that. Yes, negatives can be proven from time to time. So there you have it. So just to be clear, common sense. A negative can be proven. Rob did not win the Super Bowl last year. He was not on the Super Bowl winning team. You can prove that. Here's the list of people that were on the team. Rob's not there. While the game was taking place, Rob was streaming live. There, I proved a negative. But notice the level of accusation of proof that these people are saying. You can't prove yourself innocent. And so if someone makes any sort of allegation against you, we must assume it's true. Else, what level of proof would you need before you believed it was true? Do you see the absurdity here? By the way, I will say this, though. My favorite kind of trolls are the ones that are donating money. So keep it up. And yes, trolls, I'll pay more attention to you the more money you give. Would I be defending Trump if he was a Democratic president? Would I be calling him that? Well, let's see. I hated Bill Barr. I talked about him probably as much as any other political figure in my dislike of him. He's literally in the files today. And what was my comment? Yeah, I don't see any proof. It's just an accusation. I say the same about Bill Clinton. And he had a fucking painting in a dress. How long, Nate? Says Starch Manning's my best friend for $10. Thanks, Nate. Jet, $5 says, I don't know if Trump's involved or not, but someone is practicing black magic. Blood has power and someone's using it. Look, there's certainly evil things in the world. For God and taxes, or Texas, I'm sorry. $5 says, when the facts don't fit your narrative, then ignore the facts or throw a red herring. Yep. Jet for $5 says, what proof is even available anymore when AI can copy everything? How long, Nate? $5 says, Naughty Germ, can you believe my best friend Starch Manning didn't respond? It's shame. $50 to respond to How long, Nate? There's Starch. And Trollio, $10 says, you're blind on this, Rob. Trump's on the list. There you have it. There is a list. His name is there. Sorry to the Rumblers. I was slow on the moderation earlier with the spam. Bald ass, $5 says, just tuning in, but it sounds like Trump was right about it being a hoax. We'll watch the stream tomorrow in context. And then says, hoax as in accusations without proof. Deep State said so much time to destroy evidence and ignore leads for $5. I agree with that. And then Bry, $5 says, didn't Trump cooperate with Epstein's investigation in Florida? Trump definitely cut ties with Epstein a long time ago, way before he ran for POTUS. There are claims that he cooperated with the investigation. I don't know if that's true or not, though. Trollio, $5 says, Trump ran on draining the swamp. Yeah, here we are. He's on a list and won't release it. What do you mean he won't release? He's released far more than anyone else. I eviscerated the way Trump handled this immediately. But now we're actually releasing shit. We all know what we voted for and we didn't get it. Just complain about Trump in all sorts of ways. That doesn't prove that he assaulted children. You expect better from me. I expect nothing from you. You're an anonymous person that I don't expect anything from. So I guess I'm sorry I didn't live up to your lofty expectations, Trollio123. How will I sleep tonight? Starch Manning, $5 says, no physical proof, correct. But to disregard all of the smoke, it's bad faith. Yeah, an adjudicated assaulter and said he wasn't, and said grab women by the pee. Yeah, almost everyone I know said things worse than grab women like the pee. The E. John Carroll case is a fucking joke. Perry Incorporated, $5 says there's a list. Wow, I didn't know. Does it go 1, Trump, 2, Trump, 3, Trump? Trolio will get me with that next donation. Same with Starch Manning. They'll get me. Sam Slenderman, $5 says, release the list. Oh, we know you're on. I don't have a list with my name on it. It doesn't exist. Oh, he refuses to release the list. Bandit for $5 says, listening to lefties talk about the list reminds me of Bill Murray and Rodney Dangerfield bit about the Lord High execution. I don't know that one. Angler Gang, $2 says, thoughts on the files don't exist. Kash Patel, what do you mean by the files? So then Thomas Massey's out there today. Here's a potential thing. Thomas Massey's like, release the 302s. But what are the 302s? The 302s are just going to be accusations that people made reports to the FBI. That I don't know. Like, is there a chance that their FBI had evidence of people committing wrongdoing and they purposely chose to not investigate it? Sure. But we just released that? Is that the game now? So just to be clear, if anyone in my chat makes any accusation about any Democrat and files a report with the FBI that file a 302 on it, that should be released to the public and we'll say, well, there you go. There it is. Trollio says, why is Maxwell in jail? Either Epstein and Maxwell should have never been locked up, or a bunch of other PDF files should be locked up. Easy work. Maybe. Maxwell wasn't in jail for trafficking specifically. It was just in a very specific incident, if I remember. But let's say that's true. Okay. What is the accusation? That the FBI is sitting on proof that says Jim Smith over here intentionally engaged in the trafficking of children and assaulted these children. Here you are, Mr. Trump. And Trump goes, no. Is that the accusation? Triple X, $5 says, then you let them grab them. They let you grab them by the pee. Why do leftists hate consent? Trollio, $5 says, I count on you to be better, Rob. There's not much left out here, and you are the best of us. Thanks, man. I appreciate the kind words. Keep sending those super chats in. I just think you're wrong. Contemporary Compendium, $2 says, damn it, Rob, stop being reasonable. Nothing that was released today moves the needle at all. In fact, if anything, a file from Epstein specifically saying Trump never got a massage seems to speak against him. But there's no nuance whatsoever available on the situation at all. No one will engage in nuance. I either must believe that Trump sexually assaulted children and is intentionally covering it up, or everything Trump's done to handle this situation is perfect. And if I say, I think the way they handled these Epstein files was egregious. I think Pam Bondi was inexcusable the way she did this. I think Trump coming out and saying that it's all a hoax and that if you don't believe that, then you shouldn't support him is fucking ridiculous. But I also don't see proof that Trump is intentionally covering up for PDFs that he knows or is one himself. And everyone's like, no, you can't have that position. No. You have to say either Trump's the most evil ever and he did this, or Trump did nothing wrong. I disagree. I've probably had this commentary at this point. People that are frequent. Here's the clip I made because it was so common that we talked about this. You're right, whoever you are that's worried about this. This is the only issue that ever matters. And my entire show should be in perpetuity, me talking about Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. So if what you could do is replay this 1 minute over and over again, you can see me say Trump's really bad for how he's handling the Epstein thing. And we should criticize him with every waking breath that we ever have. Don't worry about feeding your family. Don't worry about supporting them. Don't worry about taking care of yourself whatsoever. All that matters is Trump Epstein. So you join me in saying Trump Epstein, Trump Epstein, Trump Epstein, Trump Epstein, Trump Epstein, Trump Epstein, Trump Epstein. There you go. That's 55 seconds. The minute will be complete here soon. Please put that in replay for the rest of the show. Thank you. So, for those that possibly joined late or maybe haven't seen my commentary on this before as we were talking about it, to start with, I don't see how anything today was any further proof, or the last tranche of files that were released, was anything other further proof that Trump did anything wrong, as far as he himself engaged in wrongdoing on Epstein Island. I didn't like the way Trump handled this previously, including saying that he didn't want his supporters to support him anymore if they didn't think this was a Democratic hoax. However, there's a range of possibilities of reasons that Trump could have pushed back on the release of the files. On one extreme, you could have that Trump actually, there's videos of Trump assaulting children, and so he's attempting to bury that. Possible, I guess. I see no evidence of it. On the other end, it could be that literally there is nothing there, and the releasing of it would just, be totally stupid. Could be as well. My feeling is that something like this is what happened. Trump was concerned whether he doesn't take these actions against children to do anything. It's like, yeah, if we have evidence that people did this, fuck yeah, let's lock them up. Now, either that evidence never existed, or it once existed, or it exists and Trump's team is lying to Trump. But they go to Trump and say, Trump, there's nothing really here. There's no proof. There's allegations, but there's no actionable evidence. We don't have videotapes of Jeffrey Epstein filming people committing these assaults against children. We just don't have it. We don't have that. It's just all speculation and shit. Now, maybe those videos existed at one point. You think the FBI sat on them for 18 years? Probably not. Nonetheless, once Trump hears that, he's like, oh, okay, there's nothing there. Well, we tried. And they're like, well, here's the thing, though. There are a lot of just bullshit accusations against you and a bunch of other people. No evidence, but there's a lot. And the Wall Street Journal is about to release this story about you, and they're going to release stories about your associates and a bunch of other people. And Trump's like, well, that fucking sucks. And there's nothing real there that'll help. No, we don't see anything. Okay. Then Trump's probably getting calls from other people. And they're saying, listen, I didn't do anything wrong, but I'm aware that there's a file with my name on it saying that I was with Epstein at some point, and it will ruin my life because people are unreasonable. And once they hear that my name's on a list, they're going to assume that I did the worst things. See my chat today. So please, can we avoid letting this out just like we did most grand jury testimony? We don't release things unless it leads to the prosecution of a crime. Now, I don't have to like it. I can still say, I said at the time, that's a reason that Trump could do it. I still say the way he handled it was fucking terrible. But that's not, Trump must have assaulted children. Or he's intentionally covering up for his friends that did. I don't see that. So Trams wants me to address the actual accusations of Trump outside PDF, such as Who's strawmanning your claim? You're aware that there's people in the chat other than just you, aren't you, Trams? Or you didn't know that? You thought this was just a conversation between me and you? Or are you talking to someone else in the chat? If you're talking to someone else, then ironically, I made the very mistake that I accused you. So that was it, Trams. You thought you are talking to me. Dude, this is so unfair. You claimed that I was, quote, strawmanning your claims. Could it be that I was talking about claims that other people made? Are you willing to grant that? Or was this entire thing just me talking about your claims and not the actual people whose names I was bringing up addressing their claims? Okay, you're talking to people in the chat. Fair enough. Israel. Let's pull up the post. All right. Is this the post? Here we go. This was released in the Epstein Files. This Tram's real excited to talk about this, right? So here we have a CHS reporting document from October 19th, 2020. Confidential human source was asked by the handling agent about information she may be aware of related to the improper domestic and foreign influence over election process in the U.S. CHS already provided some of this information documented in previous reports, but expanded on several matters as described below. Harvard law professor Dershowitz, CHS learned Dershowitz influenced many students from wealthy families. For example, Kushner and Josh and Jared Kushner were both his students. Dershowitz told CHS that if he was young again, he would be holding a stun gun as an Israeli Mossad agent. CHS believed Dershowitz was co-opted by Mossad and subscribed to their mission. He believes that Dershowitz, who influenced people like the Kushners, believed in Mossad's mission. CHS still continues to communicate with Dershowitz. Epstein was represented by Dershowitz, CHS, and Dershowitz Telecosta, U.S. Southern. The Epstein belonged to the U.S. and Allied intelligence. CHS served Falcos between Dershowitz and Epstein, which he took rides after the calls. Mossad's what they called Dershowitz to debrief. Epstein was close to the Prime Minister of Israel, Ehud Barak, and trained as a spy under him. Barak believed Netanyahu was a criminal. Saudi Arabia, Israel, and the United Arab Emirates are allied against Qatar, Turkey, Iran, Syria. One of CHS, who presumably worked at CHS, a lot of questions about Epstein. CHS became convinced that Epstein was co-opted by Mossad. Masha Drokov is based in Silicon Valley. He's running a firm called the Day One Ventures, supposedly an early-stage investment company. She used to be resident of President Putin's main contact between Russian youthmen at CHS and Drokov spoke, but Drokov did not talk about technology. Instead, she looked at CHS and said, "You know Epstein, didn't you?" She said Epstein was a wonderful man and that was a crying shame what had been done to him. CHS concluded that she was in Silicon Valley to steal tech. CHS advised Shabbat do everything to co-opt the Trump presidency. Shabbat is basically state-sanctioned Judaism. It is in Putin to keep tabs on the Russo-Jewish oligarchs. On that day, Trump was elected president. Ivanka Trump and Jared were at the gravesite of Rabbi Shearsam, who is the most powerful rabbi in the Shabbat network. Jared didn't disclose his stake in Cadre because of its ties to the Russian state. CHS believes this was the real Russia collusion story. Kushner has moved a lot of Russian investment money around. The FBI investigate Kushner's family, charities, and evidence of corruption, money laundering. Shabbat routinely uses charity. I get it. So now we've moved on from Russia collusion to now Russia-Israel collusion. Got it. CHS provided an attached article, Jim McGreevy and My Main Man by Craig Horowitz, published in 2004. While the article is old and centered on Charles Kushner, it highlights documents and deep ties the Kushner family has with Israel and their history of corrupt business practices and alleged violations of election laws. CHS stated that if FBI is serious about investigating the Kushners and their relationship with the Middle East, they should look closely at Ken Kurson, who knows everything. CHS invites Henry Kissinger introduced Charles to Kui Tianaki, the Chinese ambassador to the U.S. The relationship could have been helpful. Around the same time of introduction to Air and on Bang was entering negotiations with the Kushners over 666 Fifth Avenue. Henry something has been involved in developing Trump's hotels and a billionaires. Harry introduced to the Indonesian CIA. He bought Beverly Hills from Trump at an inflated price. It was at Harry's house that Trump told him that he was going to fuck Amazon over their military conflict. CHS advised this was a real collusion story. Trump has been compromised by Israel, and Kushner is the brains behind the organization. There you go. Case closed. Happy, Trams? I don't even know what you want from me, Trams. Wasn't your whole thing that you were pissed off because I wasn't talking about Trump being compromised by Israel? Then I read the document that was released today that says, this proves that Trump was compromised by Israel. And then you say, Rob, move on. Stop talking about Israel. Are you being sarcastic? I don't know what you want. I'm trying to address the claims that people said are serious things that were released in the files today. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm willing to read whatever you guys want. That's the point. Now, I would say that this document says next to nothing, is what I would say. I would say that based on what we've seen of Trump, there's probably a better case to be made that Trump listens to Israel too much without this document whatsoever. So here's the proof. One confidential source said that he heard from people that Kushner was working with Alan Dershowitz, Jews in Russia, and that Trump was going to fuck Amazon because he's co-opted by Mossad. That's it. That's it. That's what we're... Oh my gosh, can you believe... Okay. I mean, this could be true. Does this move the needle for anyone? The people that already thought Trump was compromised by Israel continue to think he was compromised by Israel. Those that don't would say, what is this? That's it? That's what I was avoiding? That's what you were so fired up that I was avoiding? Okay. There, we addressed it. My goodness. I could do show after show talking about I don't like the foreign policy stuff. I didn't like the initial bombing of Iran. I don't like the fact that we may go into Iran. I think Israel probably has too much influence or concerns of Israel, but I don't think that they're the evil devil that everyone talks about all the time. Didn't really like the foreign policy in Venezuela. Argue over and over with my chat. Argue with people that I'm friends with. Go on and debate people like Andrew Wilson over it. Still not enough for people like Trams. I'm disappointed. You didn't talk about the revelations that came out today. Why not, Rob? Okay, let's talk about the revelations. Here they are. Well, I just don't, I don't know, like, I get it. You can't please everyone. I get that. And this is why I always say the easiest thing in the world is just to take a side and stay on it and never have any nuance whatsoever. Because if you show the slightest sign of nuance, hey, there's a bunch of lefties on here saying the files today prove that Trump assaulted children. And then someone's like, but Israel, Rob, Israel. What about Israel? The evidence of Israel. Please, Israel. Israel, why are you ignoring Israel? Israel, why haven't you talked about Israel? Where's the evidence of Israel? Israel, haven't you done? Why haven't you? Okay, here it is. Well, okay, it wasn't that big of a deal, but... Oh, okay. We cool now? I have a good idea. Devil's Raspberry, $2 says, pick one, chat, release all docs, Epstein or aliens. Trollio, $10 says, name anyone else locked up for the crimes Maxwell Epstein got locked up for. No one, and? What is that supposed to prove? Therefore Trump diddled kids. BM Duper, $5 says, I drew 2 stick figures with crayons that represent Trump and Epstein. There's your proof, Rob. Wait till the glue dries off on my macaroni art. Bobby Paulbags, $2 says, believe all women. AKA pound me too. Hashtag AKA pound me too, yep. Rough Hands, thanks so much for the membership. 9 months. Appreciate it. Adam Adamant, $5 says, the reason nobody wanted to release everything is precisely this conversation. Accusations look like evidence, no matter how absurd. That's exactly right. What you can see in the chat right now is why. Starch Manning again, $5 says, I regret donating to you since you're just an apologist and dismiss proof anyways, but I'll never regret my friendship with How Long Nate. What proof did I dismiss? You have proof that Trump assaulted children? I'd love to see it. AJC, $5 says, Trump Epstein. Triple X, $5 says, if hypothetically the files proved horrific things of all major politicians around the world, would releasing be worth the collapse of the world? Yes. In my opinion. It's easy to say that, but I think. Blah, blah, blah. $5 says, hey guys, I've heard the accusations, but I just like to have some concrete, irrefutable proof before jumping to any conclusions. How dare you? PDF. Yeah. AJC, $5 says, you know what makes me mad? I was a lover of day shift call-ins and whip wheel lover. Here's my grievance. We'll play some whip wheels tonight. Day shifts, dude, I was not getting shit done around the house that I needed to get done. Contemporary Compendium, $10 says, Jay Dyer found a 2013 email of Epstein saying the most important change at the Vatican was the head of its bank, as it's exempt from transparency laws curtailing any scrutiny. RCC is totally corrupt. RCC? That's interesting, though. TPG or TJPG. Any chance I'd collaborate with Jay? Thanks for the $10. Sure, I like Jay. Perry Incorporated, $5 says, Rob, I want to say you're being very reasonable about your approach here. I believe I'm broadly in agreement. I can't find anything to push back. Thanks, Perry. Angler Gang, $2 says, Alex Jones was right about everything. Yes or yes? How Long Nate, $5 says, Starch Manning's my best friend, and I'm waiting for his return to chat. And then Zach Gelpy, $5 says, it's always about the Jays. For $5. Thanks, Zach.
How Long Nate was his first appearance on Verbal Combat Friday.
Oh, yeah. Good stuff.
We're getting them. We're not knocking in. Our crowd is just learning debate. They watch Rob and debate champions we make.
Nice. Someone sent me. Thank you so much, the person who sent me the Bill Murray thing. Appreciate it. Bobby Ballbags, $5 says, imagine how happy Jewish people are to be living rent-free in all these people's heads all the time. Rob enjoys attacking someone who agrees with him as if he's oppositional. No, I feel like that's what you were doing. Like you, that's almost exactly what I think you were doing. You were claiming I was straw-manning you and stuff. I didn't see that at all. And you were acting like I was avoiding the topic because I was talking to other people. What was your claim? Okay, Trams. Trams wasn't being oppositional whatsoever. He was just no oppositional. So, okay. On the right, we can see Trams chats. Trump compromised, but not a PDF. Elon vindicated. Trump compromised by Israel. The only thing that matters. Oh my God, they arrested Dom Lenman. Meanwhile, Trump was Epstein's acquaintance. I mean, the white supremacy and privilege is reeking. By the way, I'm bi-curious. Anyone else? Message Mossad. Let's be honest, Trump is compromised but resistance. His donors are area bigger than his failed saboteurs. What's your angle here, Rob? Agreed, but there's plenty of evidence of Trump being compromised by Israel. But you won't bring this up. Agreed, but there's plenty of evidence of Trump being compromised by Israel. But you won't bring this up. I'm good faith and will admit if you make a good point. You asked, I answered. Damn, man. I love when you pull me up and you don't respond to my response. Trump is compromised. I don't think Trump is a pedo, just compromised. Sad, Rob. Can you please look into the Israel compromise of Trump? This is not. Trump Israel. Man, I'm out. This bootlicking negligence. I don't want you to denounce him. Just address the actual records. You were saying? Fuckface? What's that, fuckface? Oh, Rob, why are you coming at people that agree with you? You called me a fucking bootlicker. You said I was being negligent, you fuckhead. I didn't do anything. I was just agreeing with Rob, as you called me a bootlicker. Why do you lie, you piece of shit? I wasn't even going at you hard, fuckhead. Now I am, you fucking liar, on top of all the other shit. I didn't say anything. I was just agreeing with you. Oh. Fucking idiot. All that shit, call me a bootlicker and shit because I was dealing with the fucking first accusations and wasn't making it timely enough for you to talk about Israel. Oh! And then when I talk about it, you're like, yeah, Rob, I basically agree with you. But no, I was a bootlicker. I was this, that, and the other. Anyways, it was fun. I still like you, Trams. It's all right. Are we whining or going through the files? What files are there left to go through surrounding Trump? Now, there was other things that were interesting, like apparently Jeffrey Epstein said in an email that Bill Gates got an STD from a Russian. I mean, but let's be clear, even that doesn't prove that Bill Gates broke a law. I mean, he probably was sleeping with prostitutes. Here's another question. Serious question I have for you. Let's say that someone went to Epstein's Island and had sex with a woman. And that woman was a prostitute. I don't even know the answer to this. That woman was a prostitute. Let's say Bill Gates, we'll say hypothetically, goes to Epstein Island, has sex with a prostitute at the island. She's an adult. He doesn't force anything upon her in that sense. She just has consensual sex with him. But she was paid by Epstein. Did Bill Gates break the law? I honestly don't know. If you sleep with the prostitute but you didn't pay her, did you commit a crime? Well, it depends on how you define trafficked. For example, a lot of the laws say that you have been sexually trafficked if you crossed state lines to have sex with someone for money. That's considered trafficking. If he knew she was paid for her services, then it's illegal. So I guess if he didn't know, it wouldn't be illegal. But if he did know, it'd be illegal. I just don't know. But anyways, aside, I'm going to be honest with y'all right here. To the accusation that people may have broke laws, prostitution laws, I just don't give a shit. I mean, I do. Fuck them, they're scumbags. But they would also be scumbags if they were there sleeping with women, cheating on their wife, and they wasn't a prostitute. So I'm more concerned with the force or the underage aspects of it. I didn't see. There were accusations of cannibalism. I'll look it up. So the idea like, Bill Gates fucking got an STD from a Russian. I mean, look, Bill Gates may have been in some freaky shit and involved with trafficking and this, that, and the other. I don't know that this proves it, though. Now, is he a fucking sack of shit that's going to this island in weird sex shit? Yeah. We pretty much suspected that anyways, I think, but all right, I haven't read this yet, but I think this is what you're talking about. Accusations of cannibalism. This is from blank to blank. Interviewed of purported Epstein victim. From August 28, 2009. That's blank. Thanks, blank. I didn't realize Bush assaulted him too, okay? On August 28th. Blank wrote, I'd like to add a few other points discussed by the purported victim. While on his yacht, he witnessed African-American males having sex with blonde females, all of whom were bleeding during intercourse. He was a victim of a type of ritualistic sacrifice in which his feet were cut with a scimitar but left no scarring. On the yacht, he witnessed babies being dismembered, intestines removed, and individuals eating the feces from these intestines. He was also assaulted by George Bush. Victim disclosed he was escorted to FBI building by Michael Moore, who's the creator of True Pundit, described by multiple online conspiracy-driven websites that attempts to paint the FBI in a bad light. Moore has a criminal record as a result of FBI investigation for copyright infringement. I mean, who amongst us hasn't been involved in ritualistic sacrifice where our feet were cut with scimitars that don't leave marks? You know, we've all been there, right? I mean, yeah, it's just a bullshitter. I don't see that as proof as anything. Yeah, Socrates gets it. I mean, Zach Kelpie, $5 says, we do think free things. Zach. Poor Zach. He's here speaking for all Jewish folks, you know. Devil's Raspberry, $2 says, Chad has burned over 7 million calories in this stream. I hope I'm burning some. Triple X, $5 says, there's no way Bill Gates is straight. AJC, $5 says, I was surprised how much these people love pizza and chicken. Yeah, it says that a lot, doesn't it? Despite all the whinging, I'm really trying to go through the files that have been released yesterday. I think it was they were released. I don't know how much longer I'm going to go. Maybe 20 minutes. I don't know. Just depends. Still got a good audience watching, so I'll feel it out. I don't know. But I just don't. I'm trying my best to see like the issues that people are talking about and go through them. And I think it would be fair to say this. There was very little that was released today so far that people have been addressing that really does anything to change in any evidenced way Trump's involvement in this. And then the stuff that does seem to be more meaningful, an email saying Epstein saying Trump never got a massage, i.e. sexual activity. Yeah, it was released yesterday. King of all pixels, what's up? $2 says, you know, one guy said pizza and chicken again. No. Yeah, it was just, so it's a bunch of tips that called in. Then the only other two things are, a person signed an affidavit saying that they heard someone say Trump did bad things, would make a 12-year-old disappear. But that was from the Tiffany Doe story that broke in 2016 that went nowhere. They investigated it and it was dropped. And then an email from a confidential human source saying Jared Kushner is involved in Israel and that they're compromising Trump. So here's the other thing. Well, now I'll really piss you off. You ready? Let me really piss you off. To those out there that think that Trump's the worst of the worst. Right, he assaulted children, right? Would you agree that hypothetically this could be so convoluted with so many people involved that we really can't trust anyone? Do you agree with that? I'd assume people would agree with that, right? Seems reasonable, right? And so the question I have to all the people that are like, this is the biggest thing in the world, and I believe the president of the United States assaulted children. How many of the files have you read? Or did you just go to social media and see what other people posted? Because if it's really something that you sincerely believe that Trump did this, wouldn't you actually be taking the time to go through them yourself? There's an awful lot of people that claim that this is the biggest, most important thing in the world, and I don't know that they're even attempting to read through the files. They're just like, oh, I'll just see what other people say about it and comment. Now, I get it. All of us have time, constraints, etc., etc. And I've done things like this in the past, but it's worth asking. How many of you read yourself? Now, when it came to things like the Mueller report shit, yeah, I fucking read every page of it. The Durham report, those things that I'm concerned with, I try to read a lot. Well, I'm not reading all of the files. I'll tell you that right now. I try my best to be honest and give my honest take on it, but I'm not reading all the files. I'm doing the same as everyone else. So is there anyone else? Any other? Did I miss any of the? Are the files that was germane to read? And this is what I've been asking. I know Andrew's been asking, where are show me in the files. And what you get is people that are just like, well, Trump said grab him by the P word. And E. John Carroll. And he told a 10-year-old he would date her in 10 years once. That's sort of it. Of course, if Trump did this, I wouldn't cover it up. I'd say throw his ass in fucking prison. The grab by the P word thing's one of my all-time favorites. Like, I don't know what to say. I guess you guys all suck. Where I live, like, people talk worse than that on a daily basis. Well, let it not be said that I didn't try to give people a fair shake and bring up anything that they wanted to talk about on this particular subject. I tried my best. You think I live in a pretty awful place? You should hear the women here talk. I had a guy once tell me, when that happened, when the Billy Bush thing broke, called me, was appalled. How could you? Oh my God, how could you ever support someone that said this? And this is a guy I knew in college. And I listened to him. Someone talking like that, it's despicable. And then I had to remind them, hey, remember when you told me that you intentionally got that chick really shit-faced so she'd come to the park with you? And then you fucked her in the park and she was crying? Remember that? Yeah, that sounds worse than what Trump said. But please, go on, clutch your pearls. Shit like that all the time. People I'd personally known that had done real shitty stuff. Well, it wasn't really like that, he said. But that's what you told me. Now, probably it wasn't like that, but that's what he told me in a big man story. But that's different, right? I remember when that story came out, I was at the local bar in the town I grew up. There was a woman in there. I won't say her name, but she's an older lady. She's like 64. Quite the drinker. Trump said grab him by the pussy. Why doesn't someone come over here and grab this one? And then flashed her old lady bosoms. And I was like, come on, put your shirt on. That's where I live. Billionaire playboy telling a story like, yeah, man, I hang out, all the women want me. I just go up and grope them and they're like, oh yeah, that's great. Oh my God, no! What a joke. Is she single? She's still cooking. She's still alive, I think. Yeah, Billy Bush did get fired. Some dude talking to a buddy he thinks off camera, just telling big man stories. Okay, what? Trump had no game in the day. He begs to differ. Sort of a shithole at times, yeah. I grew up in a shithole. It's true. Perry Incorporated, $5 says, once had a coworker ask me, would you let this N-word slur in your house in front of a black coworker? And no feelings were hurt that day. Yeah. When it comes to race shit, my goodness. I knew a black guy I was friends with, and I worked at this real estate place, and they were having a costume party for Halloween. And he wanted me to dress up in a Klan outfit and then have a rope around him, and he was going to be like a runaway slave was his plan. He was very pissed off that I would not agree to do this with him. And his whole argument was like, it's a bunch of old like banker people. They're going to be appalled. It'd be the funniest fucking thing in the world if you just show up. I was like, I cannot do that. He was all about it though. He's like, I'll just do the stereotypical like, yes sir, master sir. Like, I was like, nope. Not doing that one. But he was all about it. Funny guy. He's a good guy, man. True story about this guy. This is completely off topic, but this is a true story about that guy. So it was my best friend, his mother's house. And she was dating a gentleman who moved in his daughter. So it's my friend's mom and the guy she's dating. My friend lives there and his daughter lives there. And she started dating this black guy. And so he moved in I was over there all the time, so that's what it was like for a lot of poor people around here. You had a bunch of people living in a house, so I got to be friends with this guy who lived there. We'd play like PlayStation shit, you know? And we're sitting there one day, and the house phone rings. It wasn't a cell phone, it was a house phone. And I can't remember who answered, but they ended up, we'll call this guy Sam. They gave the phone to Sam. It was for him. He gets the phone, and you can tell he's like confused. And he starts bawling his eyes out. He's on the phone for like an hour and 40 minutes on this house phone. He's like out in the porch. It's very emotional. And what it was he was given up for adoption. And it was his real mother had found him. He had never heard from him. This guy was like 23. Never had heard ever in his life from his mom. And she hired a private investigator and somehow tracked down this phone number and called him up. And I was there for this. And he left like 2 weeks later. That was the last I ever saw him. He went down. His mom was like living somewhere down south, and he went down. Eventually his girlfriend went down with him, and then I sort of lost contact. I don't know what happened, but it was crazy. It was and he was like, this dude was not an emotional guy. He was like a masculine guy. He's a guy trying to get me to dress up like a Klansman, you know, so I'd never see him cry or be emotional like that. And it really fucking was an emotional moment for him. But yeah, good. I always wonder about that. I'm like, I hope that worked out for him, man. That would be, yeah, his girlfriend went down. Mm-hmm. I didn't really care for the girlfriend, if I'm being totally honest with you. I was not a big fan of hers, but he was cool. So yeah, I hope that worked out for him. Hope it was, fuck, that would have been 20 years ago. Down to wherever she was. She was down south, like, I don't know if it was Georgia or something like that, where his mom was from. Just said, no, there's no one here under that name. Goodbye. Spam. It was wild when, house phones. Remember that? All right, now that we're off the Epstein Files, I guess we could show a little of this. Here we go. It's happening again tonight. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Da-da-da-da. Left-wing insurrections. Da-da-da-da. There they go again. Yay! Yay! Give him the January 6th treatment, solitary confinement. Portland tonight, another insurrection. That one was Texas. Here's Portland.
Oh shit, Joe! Oh shit!
Now we're beating out the shit out of old men on mobility scooters.
Oh shit, Joe! Oh shit!
You already fucking ran over my goddamn fucking.
There's the peaceful protesters, Everett. There they are, ladies and gentlemen. There they are. Isn't it great? The left's mad. They lost an election. They get to use violence. That's the rules. That's how it works now, right? Let's see what else we have from tonight. This is LA.
Get out the way! Get out the way! Get out the way! Get out the way! You don't belong here! Get out the way! Get out the way! Get out the way! Get out the way! You don't belong here! Get out! Get out! Go to your homies! You don't belong here! You fellow Nazis! She's inciting violence! She's inciting violence! She's riling people up and inciting violence! Get her out of here! Hey, do your fucking job! She's inciting violence! Angry!
You know, they kept saying she doesn't belong here. Now, this might be an irony, but I don't think the illegals belong here. That's sort of why everyone's pissed off in the first place, right? Austin, Texas. Yay! How many insurrections today are there? 5, 6? Austin, LA, Minneapolis, Portland. They insurrecting in Seattle today? More from LA?
Fan out.
Get back! Get back! Move back! Move
Catchy.
Fuck you, fucking bitches! Fuck you!
Yay! The insurrectionist! Woo! They're back, baby! Make insurrections great again. Here we had yesterday, we had a school, I think this is in Atlanta. Sorry for the small video here. In Atlanta, they decided to let school kids out to protest ICE. Let's see how that went. Oh, flying Mexican flags. Nice. Nice. Right? What is there to even say anymore? What can you say? Every day now. Left-wing insurrection, left-wing insurrection, left-wing insurrection. Every day. Let's see. Trump announced he's suing Michael Wolff, which is funny. This might have been the clip we just saw. I think it is. Yeah, it is. We won't watch that one again. Rogers, Minnesota. Unlawful assembly called. Yay! Of course, they were blocking roads all over the country again today. This was in Italy today. This is Antifa in Italy. Antifa in Italy. Whee! But hey, I'm sure there's no foreign cooperation. After all, it's just an idea, right? Isn't that what Chris Ray said? It's just an idea. This is Fox in Minneapolis.
Hi, Joey. Yeah, there's a massive anti-ICE protest happening now. Now, we had a photographer there and a producer, but they actually had to leave for their own safety because they told me that these protesters started getting hostile. They were mad that our cameraman was there filming, even though this was going on at a public parking lot. So up to about 1,000 people showed up today for the so-called anti-ICE ICE out protest. Now, it's the second day in a row that we saw thousands of people in the streets here. Yesterday, protesters were here for that national shutdown. So calling for no work, no school, no shopping. Bruce Springsteen also made a surprise appearance in Minneapolis on Friday at a concert.
Get him, Bruce. You did it. I'll get to the super chats. A crafty Huragok, member for 6 months, says, we still haven't got to the voice chats. I know. Robert Whaley. $5 says their boos mean nothing. I've seen what makes them cheers. And Dane Crusader 100 somethings, thank you, says, thanks for the content, Rob. Our government's implementing the same as Biden's stimulus check soon. Could you tell briefly what worked for you and what didn't? Stimulus checks didn't work. Locking a government down and then the government paying the money leads to mass inflation. So, how much for a Rob Springsteen song? $200. I'm losing my voice doing the Bruce Springsteen songs. Make sure, see if we see any other rioting thing going on. Here's them in LA again.
Break down that window. Yeah.
Now listen, I know that looks bad, but those people, they were nurses and legal observers. You know, those are just nurses and legal observers. I feel like I don't even know that I have to say anything anymore on this particular subject. The left does this every time, and then eventually there'll be a violent action with law enforcement. It could be almost 100% the law enforcement is justified in their discharging of the weapon, like Renee Good, or it could be more difficult, like in Alex Preddy. It does not matter. The left will go insane and say, oh my gosh, see? Thus giving the rationale for more rioting. The Democrat politicians, the Democrats in the media, the social media people will all clutch their pearls and ignore that the left is engaging in their words. Again, I present this all the time. Here's what the left, with Destiny and all these people told me was the definition of an insurrection, an assemblage of people united for a common purpose that's resisting the implementation or execution of a particular law or interfering with the course of government proceeding. Yes, they're there for a common person. Yes, it is to interfere with ICE and the deportation of people by way of force and intimidation, obviously, for a public purpose. Yes. These people clutch their pearls. I predicted this. I'm a broken record. I've said it so many times. Back in 2000, I was doing all these left-wing panels during COVID in the Summer of Love, talking to these lefties about the ongoing riots that we saw all across the country over and over. The left downplayed it. They said it wasn't a big deal. It was mostly peaceful. And I said to them over and over, eventually, when the right has a riot, you people will lose your fucking mind. And you'll say it's the end of the world. And that's exactly what happened. We had one day, January 6th, a day that they still talk about. Oh, insurrection. It was so big because it's an insurrection, because it's an insurrection, because it's an insurrection. And now we have insurrections just like we did based on their definition in the Summer of Love with George Floyd. We have insurrections multiple times, almost on a daily basis. And where are they? Where are they? So strange. I don't hear them speaking up. John Ruck, $2 says ICE used the crowd control lasers like in Venezuela. Starch Manning, $10 says, just looking for truth, brother. E. John Carroll, fake result. Affidavit doesn't count. Accusations in file mean nothing. Epstein's best friend, Wolff, out to get him. Real truth seeker. Yeah, your gibberish of just throwing a bunch of shit to a wall means nothing to me. We've talked about all of these many times before. But why don't you send in more money? Thanks. Sam Sunderman, $5 says, the left creates the virus, then plans to present itself as the only viable cure. Yeah. In 88, $10 says it's nasty Woodstock on SSRIs with too much time on their hands. Yep. Oh. Bald Ass over in Rumble, $5 says still more worried about having kids alone with Biden most of all. Fair, not believe anyone. Their record is Congress proof enough. Yeah. Mangozi, $10 says for the grift. Baldats, $5 says, if Trump invokes the Insurrection Act, would it be in effect for a specific state or nationwide? I don't know. I think it would be for a specific location, a specific state, I believe. Though I'm not quite sure. There's nothing wrong with looking at the shooting of Alex Preddy and saying, I have a problem with this. I don't think it looked good. Now, I've looked through it, and I don't think it's as clear cut, but I think that it certainly wasn't murder. It looks like a tragic accident. That's what it looks like. Nonetheless, all of these situations are inevitable because of the left, because of what the Democrats are doing. They intentionally set up violent confrontation. We read the document yesterday, one of the training manuals that's being put in these signal chats in Minnesota. Create flashpoints to have militant escalation. That's the game. If you set up 1,000 violent confrontations with law enforcement across the country, inevitably, one of them will result in a use of force that people will be like, I don't like that. And then you could say, aha, there we go. these local precincts ran by Democrats are intentionally having law enforcement stand down. They refuse to cooperate with deportations in the first place. So then when ICE goes on the street or Border Patrol goes on the street, they refuse to have their law enforcement protect them while sending the signal that people need to go out and get in the face of ICE, which then leads to violent confrontation, which then leads to ICE using force, which then leads to, see, we need to stop deportations. And I argue with people, and I understand why some people have a problem with it, but my belief is we need to harden our hearts. That we just say, we don't give a fuck anymore. Shut the fuck up. That's my feelings on it. Piano Dean, $5 says, is it Bruce Springsteen, the one who wrote, "Hey, little girl, is your dad home?" Yes, he is. I've got a bad desire. Trump's the icky one? Yeah. And all these people, it's like, I wanted deportations, but I don't like the way it's happening. What did you think was going to happen? What'd you think? That we have automaton police and law enforcement that will never do anything that you consider slightly over the line? And that we could have violent left-wing insurrectionists attack them on a daily basis all across the country? While Democrats call them terrorists and Nazis and all this and threaten to charge them afterwards? And that every single time law enforcement would behave exactly how you want them? That was your idea, Dave Smith? That's your idea? Libertarians that say this or right-wingers that say this? And it's a very effective plan. It's very effective. They want martyrs. They want Renee Good shot. They want Alex Preddy shot. That's good for them. Then they get to go out and LARP and get even more angry and they have an excuse for more violence. They kick the dog. When the dog bites them back, they say, see, we were justified in kicking the dog. It's that simple. And it'll probably work. Because the national, mark my words, there's going to be another killing. There's going to be. It's going to be an ICE agent or it's going to be another rioter. Someone's going to die again. It's going to happen. It's inevitable. And what the left understands and the Democrats understand is people don't like chaos. So their bargain is, tell you what, give us power or we're going to riot. And if you want the chaos then, simple, vote for us. Give us what we want and we won't use violence. Otherwise, we'll use violence. And you won't like that. You won't like the chaos. And it's bad enough that the people on the street are doing it. But it's the people that help shape the narrative that are the most egregious. Your media people, your commentators, your pontificators, your podcasters, your politicians, your academics. Worked for them in 2020, that's right. Why would they stop? Remember, I said way back, months ago, when the riot started in LA, here's what I would do. Send in the National Guard to protect ICE, triple the presence of ICE, start fucking deporting every illegal, and then in the evening, Go back to the federal building, have the National Guard protect it, and let the motherfuckers riot all over LA. Every night. Go ahead, burn down the rest of the city. We don't give a fuck. Have at her. We'll be back tomorrow. If you come at ICE with the National Guard there, you're going to get consequences. Other than that, hey, 2 blocks over, fuck it. Loot, pillage, whatever. It's not our problem. Let the local police stand down. That's what I would do. Every one of these cities. Fuck them. Oh, police don't want to cooperate? Fine. Then we're going to triple the presence of ICE and law enforcement. We're going to declare the Insurrection Act. We're going to send in troops to go with ICE as they achieve their day-to-day jobs. And we're going to pull back at night. Go ahead. Riot away. That's what the people in the city want. Let them have it. No problem. Fuck them. Yeah, people in LA want it. Let them have it. What do I give a fuck? I just want the illegals out. Burn down your fucking city. I don't care. I'm tired of caring. I cared in Black Lives Matter. I get called a racist for it. I was on all the time saying, hey, we shouldn't allow these people to burn down cities. We shouldn't allow that. That's bad. And people said, you racist? And I was like, but they're burning down black areas, black-owned areas. Fuck you, racist. You're a racist if you don't allow them to burn down the black-owned areas. Okay, I'm convinced. My bad. Let them burn. My mistake. I don't want to be called a racist after all, so burn away. Destroy your own cities. No tax dollars. None of that. There shouldn't be one federal tax dollar goes into the city. You chose to let her burn down? No problem. You're on your own there. Good luck to you. No federal dollars. We're going to keep arresting the illegals. You guys keep rioting as long as you're not rioting against federal authorities. No problem. Now, I obviously know that this is something that couldn't come about, but that's the ideal situation. Okay. Anyways, anything else people want? Let's see who's on tonight. We'll raid over to someone. Who can it be? If you haven't already, please give a like. I would much appreciate it. Also, let me share a channel. I used to do this. I need to start doing it again. I have a channel recommendation for you. They don't do live streams, but where the hell is it? Here we are. The new clip channel for the Crucible. This is the official clips channel, so other people are taking their content. I'm not affiliated with this channel, but there you have it. Please give it a sub if you haven't already. That's where you're going to see clips from the Crucible. And that'll include clips of me when I'm on the sieges and all that stuff. Rocky Knuckles, $2 says, at this point, do you see any path to de-escalation? If Democrats win, right-wingers won't riot. Until then, they're just going to have to lose over and over again until their own side reins them in. Or Trump's going to have to use force. One other thing for fans of my show, I believe I'll be traveling this week, so it may affect my schedule. Merch shop not up and running yet. Hopefully next week here. I don't think I can announce it yet. But I will. There is a 95% chance that I will be traveling and doing a big named show in person this week. So, I want to make sure that I get my travel verification. But as soon as that's confirmed, I will announce to you. But I don't want to announce it. It's not Joe Rogan, I'll say that. So, that's all you get, though. So don't throw out other names. So, yeah, that should be later in the week. Tomorrow is Sunday. I don't know that I'll be streaming. Maybe, maybe not. Andrew's supposed to debate Brian Shapiro. I don't know quite on what, but that should be fun. So there you go. So if we reached our goal of $1,000 tonight, that would be nice. Seeing as how I could use some of that. You got to travel with beef jerky, right? If you're traveling a long distance, you got to have fucking beef jerky. That shit's expensive. Plus, I might not be streaming every night this week, so Adam Adamant knows who it is. So, well, there you go. Consider. Let's raid over to our friend Grid tonight. This is my job. I did have a job, but now this is my job. It is not Joe Rogan. I will tell you that. It is not fucking Joe Rogan. So, but that's all you get. I'm not going to tell you. Hopefully I get it confirmed and I'll be able to. Now, believe it or not, as we're ending, I don't. Marino's Legacy, thanks so much. $5 says, was the civil rights era of the past 50 or so years always an illusion? Or was racial and political pluralism a real possibility for America? I think it was possible. I think it was possible if we didn't see this sort of cultural Marxist infiltration of our institutions. Now, believe it or not, I don't think I owe any stupid-ass whip songs tonight. Amazing. It's $100 to do one of those stupid whip songs, so we're going to raid over to Grid Motorsports, like I said. But oh, I didn't even know you were on Sarah's channel. Doesn't matter. Yeah. Listen, I'm fucking dead serious. Wait, Grid, are you telling me you're on with Sarah? I don't know that I am raiding then. I'm actually, let me check this, because I don't want to be accused of hate raiding. I'm fucking over the drama. Let's see what's going on. Yeah, no. Sorry, Grid. Some other night. Not doing that. I don't mind. It's just, I don't want, I know what'll happen. Someone in my audience will say something shitty to her, and then it'll start a big drama thing. So, nope. We'll raid Mr. Bill tonight. I'm sorry, Grid. It's just not doing it. Sam Slenderman, $2. Thank you, my friend. Thank you. Though I do appreciate you, Grid, telling me she was on there. I don't raid Twitch because I only ever have a handful of people watching. And I'll be honest, I can't figure it out anymore. But thanks, Landon. I do appreciate my Twitch supporters. Oh, look at this. Thanks, Robert Bray. Appreciate it. Now, listen, everyone could leave if you want because it's about to get ugly. Wade Bugs, $100. How about that whip wheel? We love you, Wade. Crazy psychopath that you are. But he's our crazy psychopath. So there's this song from this Lord of the Rings movie back in the day called Where There's a Whip, There's a Way. So we made a bunch of versions of the song, and $100 at the end of the show we'll play one of the songs. If you're going to leave because this is stupid, you're right, it's stupid. Oh. And this version of the song is one of the dumber ones. Hungarian War Pigeon version. All right. Enjoy.
Where there's a whip,
I don't believe there's an invasion tonight.
there's a way.
I don't know, though.
Where there's a whip, there's a way. We don't want to go to war today, but the Lord of the Lash says nay, nay, nay. We're gonna march all day, all day, all day. whip, there's a way. Where there's a whip, there's a way. Where there's a whip, there's a way. Left, right, left. Where there's a whip, there's a way. Left, right. A crack on the back says we're gonna fight. We're gonna march all day and night and more for. We are the slaves of the Dark Lord's war. For we are the slaves of the Dark Lord's war.
Are you happy? Yay! Sam Sutterman, another $2. We're within $300 something here of getting the goal. No. It's a possibility, albeit a small one. So what it was, it's not who named it. It was AI prompts. I know I'm terrible using AI. Stay for the goal. I mean, if it was going to be like a half an hour, yeah. If it's going to be 12 hours, I don't know. Marino's Legacy, $2 says, Rob, you're this generation's Rush Limbaugh. Man, that means more than you know. Thank you. I'm not as good as Rush, but thank you so much. If I see the people on TikTok that think Kamala's running in the midterms for president, I have not. That's good. Rush was cool. What do we got here? Rocky Knuckles says Wade wants to see Rob lose his shit. He has in the past. Well, we're at 69%. How about that? I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll bring back an old. We haven't done a chat of the week for quite some time. Baldass, $5. Thanks. Says Night Rob. I should press charges against people like Krasner in Philadelphia and anyone saying to hunt them for threatening him. Yeah. So there's a little game we play here to declare an official chat of the week. Oh, it's such a prestigious title. Now, the rules are simple. We haven't done this in a while. But basically, I play this timer. All right? I'm going to do it this way. Put that little timer there. And when it gets 2.5 minutes, I end the stream. And whoever the last person was to give at least a $20 donation wins. You're the chat of the week. Now, you got to give me 2.5 minutes. I'll check a couple forums, etc., etc. You know, you get the picture. $20. If you donate $10, it doesn't count. If you donate 15, it doesn't count. It's got to be 20. If you donate a one-time donation of $200, then you automatically win unless someone matches it. If you donate $20, we reset the timer. So, timer runs, gets 2.5 minutes. Show's over. Wade Boggs is winning right now. $200 donation means you automatically win unless someone matches or exceeds it. And you can also donate on PayPal at robnoerr or on Cash App at $robnoerr. Now, I don't anticipate it'll go very long tonight, but you could be chat of the week for quite some time. Here we go. Either way, I win because I either get money or I get to go to bed, which is nice. What if you donate blood? That will not count. But I don't mind if everyone's leaving. Totally get it. We're just grifting now. Got to pay the bills. Oh, man. You know, if we do end on 69%, that's not the worst thing in the world, right? Waiting on a social security check. Totally get it, man. Totally get it. Hey, if you can't donate, I appreciate all of you, no matter what. So sorry. Oh, we got a dono. Zach Gelpy, $20. Thank you. They put up an interview of Steve Bannon with Jeffrey Epstein. Crazy. All right, Zach winning. I'm poor up 60. Oh, we're at 71% now. Mm-hmm. Hey, little girl, is your dad at home? Get him, Bruce. What a piece of, that guy could have just pretended to be a fucking, Jersey hick for the rest of his life. But no. He's got to give in to the left-wing politics like every other unoriginal fuck. Oh! Sam Slenderman winning. $20 says, wish I could do more, brother. Have a great evening. Thank you. Oh, Sumerian Technology says 2 more donations, says Landon TV. There was one. Oh. You know what I did while I was working around the house today? I found a video that someone did. It was like an hour YouTube video where they went through the entire, every episode of the original Dragon Ball anime. Not Dragon Ball Z, but Dragon Ball. There you go. That's what I did today. Pretty weird show. Pretty perverted, I gotta say. But, what's the most donos we've ever had in a stream? I think we got like $3,400 one night. Yeah, cool. People poor. Totally get it. No problem. I got Bruce Springsteen. I do like some Bruce songs. I got to be honest. The song Youngstown's pretty badass. Oh, the total number of super chats? That I don't know. I mean, on the 24-hour stream, I was probably quite a bit, Look at this. Destine Kelly, $20 says, if God is with us, who can be against us, Rob? Love you. Thank you, man. I really appreciate that. Look, it's good to keep things like that in perspective. If you're a Christian, you know how it all ends, right? That's why we don't black pill here. Even if I'm bitching and moaning about Republicans and Trump and yelling at people, I love my family. I believe in Christ. Things will work out one way or another. Yeah, the early episodes are wild, Zero Smoke. It's crazy. No, I don't want to watch Candace Owens' future streams. Architecture. Have you seen these clips? People are putting all these clips out of Candace Owens mispronouncing words. I'm not going to jump on the bandwagon, though, because I mispronounce shit all the time, but it's kind of funny. Phrygian Guard, $20.01 says, a space odyssey. Not one step back. Thank you. Jim Walsh for $5 says, just woke up from cryosleep. What did I miss? We're playing the Chat of the Week game. But Vergarian Guard with $20 resets the clock. Back in the lead. Yeah, we'll face persecution like Nigeria. It is going to get bad. They're basically all but cheering for attacks on churches at this point. They'll arrest Don Lemon. He was just exercising his First Amendment right. These fuckers. My goodness, if you stormed into a mosque, they'd be the first to call you Islamophobic and a racist piece of shit and cheer for you them to lock you up and throw away the key. But Don Lemon calls church white supremacist and wants to help raid it, and it's First Amendment. Also, I can't get over that they're like, well, he's a real journalist, unlike Owen Schroyer. Dude, the guy works for himself on a fucking Twitch stream. He's as much of a journalist as I am. Do I have a hobby or a man cave? Nah, this is my room where my studio is. And as far as hobbies, I don't know. Hanging out with my kid. I hope I pronounced that right. Varasian Guard. He's going to win, and I'm pronouncing his name wrong. $20. Get you back in the lead. Resets the clock. Remember, you could also send via PayPal or Cash App. PayPal at robnoerr or Cash App $robnoerr. My attic does have 2 floors. Very true. Very true. Oh, Landon says Sumerian Texas new donation between 2:30. Oh, before 2:30. Yeah, poor Candace Owens. Mispronouncing words. Yeah, I really don't have 2 attics. I do have an attic that's not hospitable. It's on its own up there. Uh-oh. 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 Okay, let me check Rumble. No donos on Rumble. Let me check Cash App. Just make sure there's nothing there. Nothing on Cash App. Let me check PayPal. Oh, at the last second, Wade Boggs saves the day with 20. That was it. I was about to say, call it. Wow. Wade saves the day. Wow. Speaking Texan saying, yeah. He did it. Well, there's like a religious debate going on in the chat. I'll just sit back quietly and That's true. Wade Boggs never has been chat of the week. That is true. He's in line now. I keep seeing questions and think they're to me, but religious debate. Not my strong suit. Man, we had a good fucking night tonight, didn't we? We had like 750 people watching at one point. I can't wait to tell you all about the big show that I'll be doing this week. I'll tell you this, it's going to be a hoot. It's going to be a lot of fun, man. I'm very pumped. For the Emperor! Yeah, there you go. Jay's a hell of a religious debater. I don't debate religion because I'm a neophyte in religion. I don't even know what denomination I am yet. And I think that that's the one topic that you should be very careful wading into because it's blasphemous. Yes, I know. How dare I grift? Okay, the time's up. All right. Rumble. No donation. So I'm going to check Cash App and PayPal. If we don't get another $20 donation or higher, it's the end of the show. Oh, never mind. I see that we... Kyle ran a mile. $20 says this is the most I've sent someone. My goodness, Kyle. Thank you so much. I'll remind you, you could just donate $200 and be the winner unless someone else donates $200. When will we know the podcast I'm going on? I'm waiting for them. So I talked to one of the producers today, and they said they have to check with someone else, and then they will get back to me. So I'm guessing probably Monday they would get back to me. But it looks good. It's like 95% likely. There was just one little scheduling thing they had to make. But it will be an in-person thing. And when I know about it, it is not The View. When I know it for sure, I will. But I will tell you it's not Joe Rogan. So, but it's someone you've heard of. It's not Joe Rogan. I will be on Talk Tua. You got it. Sean Ryan, Kenosha Kid. PBD, Timcast. Netanyahu be talking. Maybe. Does this show on at the same day or time? Oh, whatever. John Ward. I got to get in touch. It's not John Ward, I'll tell you that. I do have to get in touch with John. I haven't heard from him in a while. Timcast? Who knows? Who knows? Could be anything. Could be a boat. That's right. I'll take the box. I'll tell you also it's not Piers Morgan. But the only reason I'll tell you that is because it's an in-person thing. So Piers Morgan's digital. You know. Candace Owens, maybe? The View, maybe? OnlyFans? No. All right. Is that going to be it? Kyle Random Miles going to win? Nothing on Rumble? Checking PayPal. I see nothing on PayPal. Checking Cash App. Ladies and gentlemen, that's it. The game is over. Our winner, Kyle ran a mile. Ladies and gentlemen, the Chad of the week. Give it up. Kyle ran a mile. Chad of the week. Unbelievable. What a victory. The halls of Valhalla shall never stop singing the song of Kyle ran a mile. Chad of the week. February 1st. Isn't this Black History Month? Wow. Chad of the week at the beginning of Black History Month. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. Now just think. People talk like, what have you achieved in life? You know what that guy's achieved? Chad of the week. I've never been Chad of the week. Never. I probably never will be. But Kyle is. Yeah, my show is 10 p.m. pretty much every weeknight. Tomorrow, I don't know that I'll stream. But I'll try. We'll see. Yeah, Devil's Raspberry. I'm going to be myself. You'll see. You'll be like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. Totally get it. And I'll do great. And it's going to be a lot of fun. Now, one last call, I'll say. Maybe I could call Brian. Good luck to him. Good luck to Brian. Since it's Black History Month, does that mean we can watch LeBron highlights? I don't know. Do they flag you for that? On Black History Month, maybe I'm allowed. I don't know. All right, we're raiding over. I forget who we're raiding. Mr. Bill. I think he's looking at riots. Mr. Bill's a cool guy. Continue giving us up. Consider it. He's a good guy. So, thank you to whoever's about to donate $200 to push me over the Super Chat goal tonight. That's amazing. You're the best. But I want to thank Avarice. I want to thank my editor, Black Elk. I want to thank all of my moderators, including EOD, Zen's Forehead, Achilles Ware, Naughty Germ, and Are We Not Men. Thank you to everyone who donated tonight. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you to everyone who liked the stream, everyone who chatted, everyone who argued with or against me. Appreciate it. Thank you to people that were having religious debates in the chat. Appreciate you as well. Take a moment out here today as we see this violence from the left. And I know it sounds cliche. If you watch my show, you see this. We close the show with this almost every night. Never forget what happened to Charlie Kirk and how so many on the left celebrated his murder. This man was a father. He was a husband. He was a Christian. And never forget, what separates what they want to do to Charlie versus what they want to do to you isn't that he was more extreme than you. It's that he was more effective. So please, stay safe. Say a prayer for Charlie and his family and your family. Say a prayer for all the people that are out there trying to protect us from this violence. I may see you tomorrow. If not, I will see you Monday at 10 p.m. Eastern. Thanks so much, everyone. As always, have a good one.
Only in America is it possible to say, you know what, I don't like the way the country is going, and to do something about it. Take that risk. Take that leap of faith. Stay involved. Trust God and act obediently. Romans 12:2 verse. That God will use all things for good for those who love him. It's bigger than you. I want you to remember that. It is bigger than you. It's bigger than me. You are here to make somebody else's life better, the pursuit of liberty and freedom. You know what gives me strength? The hundreds of thousands of you that say, Charlie, keep going.
1 Corinthians 5 and 15. So that's all pretty amazing evidence, not just intra-biblical evidence, but extra-biblical evidence that Jesus Christ was a real person. He lived a perfect life. He was crucified, died, and rose on the third day, and he is Lord and God of all.